Definitely hear you.
Oh, hello, welcome.
I have no idea how far behind the stream is now. They may have heard me yelling at YouTube, which may get me demonetized. Who knows?
Oops. Shh, shh, it's fine. Still says waiting on my YouTube.
Oh, cool.
What is-
So go ahead and
Not fully live yet.
ah, no, just you. That's the only one I want. Okay, that came out wrong. Anyway, hello everybody. I think we're live now. Boo boo boo! The classic Joe Magician. I'm gonna cut off the first 5 to 10 minutes of this video because making sure everything works. Hey, there's my camera. I just remembered where it was. Uh, Everybody hear me? Everything look okay? Because we are doing a classic internet tier list. Mallory, take off the stupid post. There you go. You left that on for so long.
Hiding my identity. I was hiding my identity. I was
Look,
being secret.
it's the special guest. You can tell
Hello.
from her name. It says Sanrixian.
It
She's
says
not
it up
drawing this
there.
time. That's right. She's actually going to pay attention
Haha.
and talk. Ridiculous. No drawing. If you start drawing something, this is over.
Oops.
Oh, Jesus
We will
Christ.
definitely do it.
Already. Yeah, so this is sort of the follow-up to my latest video. What is it called right now? It's probably called like do the Targaryens control their dragons? I've been kind of messing around with that
Do
one.
the yeah, it's do the Targaryen dragons or do the Targaryens actually have control over their dragons or something like
Something like that.
along those lines. Like Dragon Bond was enough for me to be able to like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for when I went to review it this
Yeah,
morning. And I was like, what which video is it? I don't know. Oh, the joys of fighting
I know.
YouTube,
I don't think
trying to
anybody
get
knew
it.
what Dragon Bond was.
That's true.
I literally think
Sandwiches,
nobody knew what that
sandwiches.
was.
Really? None of our friends?
It might have been just you, just Mallory watching, looking at it going, "This is for me," which is ironic because guess who edited the script? Dragon Lady. No Gurm? No, sorry, no George R. R. Martin this time, but better
It
because
was
George can't
me,
draw.
the dragon bitch. It's true. George can't draw. George does not care what Vagar color is. George doesn't care what anybody's color is, really. He's just like, they're dragons and they do these things. That is the bane of my existence.
I've
BRB.
I would suggest that you probably know his dragons better than he does at this point.
At this point, I totally do.
I think that's correct.
At this point, I have it in my heart and in my soul in a way that I think only like a handful of people on this planet Earth do. We've got Lady Gwyn,
Hmm.
super good dragon expert. Egg, very good at dragons. Aziz, also very good at dragons, but like, who
Yolkboy knows
thinks about it
Sunfire because he's so
nonstop?
sexy. Yolkboy
He
only knows
absolutely knows
Sunfire.
Sunfire.
Mm.
He only knows Sunfire. So how
Uh,
are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing okay. Question from the chat. Zizu, will there be spoilers for season 2 at the end? I put them as a separate section. So I'll say it before we talk about the spoiler characters. But we're going to cover the characters in House of the Dragon season 2 we already know about, the ones who are dead that were riding dragons in the series, and spicy surprise, Game of Thrones dragon riders. Guess how many there are, Mallory?
Two,
Wrong. There's three.
one in the book. What?
There's three dragon
Allegedly.
riders in Game of Thrones.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Did not three people ride dragons? I guess he defined what the third person is.
The third person is like a collection or a group of people at that point in Game of Thrones, right? Because it's like the
Something rode a
random,
dragon.
like,
Okay.
other.
A third
Oh, okay.
entity rode a
I see
dragon.
what you're saying. Night's King. Yeah,
Yeah, the
I see
Night's
what you're
King.
I
And
got
then
you.
we'll do
I got
spoilers
you.
at the end. So, yeah. There'll be some, yeah, Bernie's right. There'll be some spoilers from the books, but characters we know to exist. Um, So yeah, what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and rank these dragon riders according to their relative dragon bond to their own mounts. Because as I sort of said at the end of the video, it's kind of important for predicting what happens and what you're seeing on the screen, depending on how much they have meshed, I guess, as we saw during Luke and Aemon's unfortunate dragon accident or whatever that was.
You proposed the question, do the Targaryens control their dragons? I think is the current title of the
Yeah,
Dragon Bond video. And it's like their animals know what is the point of Viserys saying in early a hot D at this point. In
mm,
hot D, what is the point of Viserys saying, um, do we actually control the dragons? What is the point of putting that all in our face if we don't have questions like this? Like, how much was dragon? How much was rider?
exactly. It's almost like they want you to wonder about it, and then they give you a bunch of information to make up your mind, which I conveniently put into like a 30-minute video for you to peruse.
Go watch it.
It's a pretty good one. Pretty good one.
Also, go buy Joe Magician merch.
Yes.
How strong? JoeMagician.threadless.com or threadless.com/Joe Magician. I don't remember which one it is at this point.
One of those sounds right.
One of those is right.
Actually, I wonder if my bot
Somebody
is still
tell me
running.
that.
Threadless. My bot is not running. Damn it.
Oh. It is. Oh, Bernie got
Yeah,
it.
Bernie's
No,
not my
sorry.
bot. Are you calling Bernie a bot? Is that what's happening here?
No.
Bernie, you're not a bot. Also, in addition to Patreon and Threadless, there I also turned on memberships for my channel. I recently uploaded everything from my Patreon to YouTube for membership. So this is all of George R. R. Martin's first book, Dying of the Light, except for the last chapter and epilogue, which I haven't done yet. Meat House Man, which is a story that exists. Night Flyers, and a few other things in there. So if you, it's the same pricing for each, the same perks. You get stuff early. You get in the chat. You get cool like emojis and little badges and stuff like that. If you want to do it on YouTube or Patreon, whatever one you feel like. Um, During the season, I'll probably give away some memberships or something like that. But anyway, let's get down to business and
Those Huns?
defeating them Huns. That's right. Uh, so up here on this tier list, I have organized all the current dragon riders, and just by luck of the draw, the first one is Aegon the Second, or Aegon the Shithead, with his dragon Sunfire. Aegon the Shithead is not his official title. That's his official title to me. So Mallory,
Right.
when we're talking about Aegon and Sunfire, when we're looking at this sort of tier list, I would say D tier list, they have basically little to no control over their dragon. It's like they just jumped on it yesterday. S tier would be they have basically full control over it, where they can just sort of think things and the dragon will do it. Okay? And in between, I would say like B tier, most of the time the dragon does what they want, but they're still sort of treating it like a gigantic horse. Like we see from certain characters. You know, they're pulling back on the reins, they're saying things to it, they're doing horse riding stuff would probably be like a B tier. So, when we're talking about Aegon and Sunfire, where do you think Aegon and Sunfire would go?
Okay. I have a lot of feelings about Sunfire. Okay, I
Okay.
have a lot of feelings about Aegon the Second. However, if we are looking at it genuinely in the terms of like Dragon and Rider,
Mm-hmm.
we think about the things that are spoilery that I can't discuss right now that Sunfire does. Right now in the story, end of season one, we have no real Sunfire, so this is kind of hard if you're a Shonli
Mm-hmm.
to rank this dragon, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a solid B or a solid C at the best. I'm gonna say B. I'm gonna be kind to Egg too,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like some of the actions that happen later could have been inspired by him in a way, like or something flowing through that dragon bond,
Sure.
like some kind of feelings that would make this dragon act in this way. But Sunfire is a little dick bitch. We hate him. He's the worst dragon. Let me ask you right now, before we actually get into this, who is your least favorite dragon? Who
Oh,
do you hate? Number one, worst dragon.
that dragon that I hate?
Yeah.
Oh,
Dragon that you do not like. Number one, worst dragon. You have to pick one. The baddest boy. He gets no extra cookies. He gets put in his crate for timeout.
I sort of said this in one of the Discord servers I was talking in. I think objectively the worst dragon is the cannibal. It doesn't do shit. He
Oh,
just
that's a
the
bold
I
statement.
love the cannibal. I think he's fascinating. But if you're talking about in terms of like, I guess like dragon riders, the worst. Kills everyone that approaches him, eats tons of other dragons, basically tells everyone to screw off. Objectively terrible dragon. I still love him.
But
Okay, so if you're talking about like which dragon do I like in terms
yeah,
of like,
I'm talking about your personal, like, which dragon do you hate? I don't care what this dragon does in the story,
mm,
because secret third thing, besides the blackest and the greens, is dragons, which are animals which are going to do whatever they want. So if you go and you bother them and you touch their snout and they're like a $9,000 beat, like, sorry, 9,000 pound beast, I'm sorry, you have fucked up. Like, you have messed up in this instance. Like, you get what you have brought upon you. Like melees in the dragon pit, like killing a bunch of green supporters, during that one scene, during that shot in House of the Dragon. I was like, it's fine. She's fine. She didn't do anything wrong. And everybody lost their minds because the small folk died. Okay, yes, I'm really sorry about the small folk, but she's a dragon. And sometimes you need dragons to make statements. So I'm saying, like, if you can recuse yourself from the important positions like lives matter, like the small folks' lives matter, and other Targaryen lives matter, and people in the court are important. Which dragon do you think is the worst dragon? Which one do you think is the best dragon? Go.
okay, the worst dragon is going to be Grey Ghost. Grey Ghost doesn't do anything. Grey Ghost is
That's
a
true.
non-factor in any particular way. There's really it's just a shy boy dragon that hangs out in its cave, and that's sort of it. There's not a lot there. At least some of the other dragons, you have like stuff they do to go off of, and like something to grab onto. It's like if you say Grey Ghost is your favorite dragon, you are saying a generic dragon is your favorite because there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's the idea of dragon. I do like have like a love for Grey Ghost being the secret fish eating third though of the other two
Yeah,
sheep eating and dragon eating dragons that are the wild dragons. Like I want to know more, but also that's because my hyper focus is on the dragons and nothing
you don't
more.
say.
I will give you that.
And the best dragon, like in terms of favorites, it's the cannibal. The cannibal is my favorite dragon. There,
So you're saying originally you said Cannibal was the worst dragon, and then you're also saying he's still my favorite.
he's the worst dragon in terms of like if you're talking about it in terms of being a dragon that's useful to the Targaryens and riders, like we're talking about. But he's also my
Right, right,
favorite.
right. Right.
Those aren't the same thing.
That's true. That's true.
This is a little fishing boy minding his
There are
business. He is
differences.
a little fishing boy minding his business, but that's not what I want out of a
Hi,
dragon.
Brando.
That's a
You want more?
I'm not looking to self-identify with a dragon. I'm looking to be entertained by them in some way.
You don't want to self-identify with a dragon. You don't want to see yourself in a dragon. You don't want to envision who your mount would be.
No, Mallory, because I'm not a Targaryen.
But what? Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Why can't I clip your channel? This is horseshit.
You can.
But
They
in the
they
moment,
introduced the ability to clip streams. I don't like bad guys actually. The reason I like Cannibal is like intellectual curiosity. It's like he's a giant enigma who's like a mystery that constantly claws at my consciousness. That's what I like about the Cannibal.
yeah, you like the story plot of the cannibal. You like the like, what does it mean? I get that. Yeah, I should have known that about you. Really, I blame myself for my own disappointment here. So, who are we rating first on this tier list?
Sunfire and Aegon. You put them in B or
I B.
C. Um,
What do you think?
I
What's
te-
your opinion?
I tend to think C, and the reason for it is that Aegon does not give a crap about anything and anybody. He has no discipline in terms of trying to help himself or the people around him. There's zero shot he's done training with Sunfire. He probably gets on him and rides around him like a hot rod every once in a while, and that's sort of it. So
Yeah.
I'm just guessing based on Aegon's personality, there's not much going on between them. It's like he has Sunfire, and that's kind of the end of the story for what they're like. Unlike we've seen with other dragon riders who are constantly riding them, or like Daemon, like introducing his hot babes to them, or Aemond apparently just like constantly riding Vhagar, trying to like create a better bond or whatever he's actually doing with it. It's like there's no way Aegon has done anything with Sunfire. That's just not his
Yeah,
personality.
I think the analogy that you said of the Hot Wheel is very accurate and very like it hits perfectly because like what he is an element to show off when he needs it. Like here's my Ferrari I keep in the garage to whip out every once in a while. Absolutely. Good call there. I think C is a valid call for Aegon
Yeah.
and Sunfire.
And yeah, like I know, obviously, I know, chat, what happens with Aegon and Sunfire as the story goes along, and that doesn't really change my opinion of what happens, of what I'm talking about.
It's still a C list.
He's not a person, he's not a serious person, and he's not serious about being a dragon rider. That's just sort of the thing.
Thinking of the spoiler, I would have maybe. That's the only reason I would have maybe.
Right.
But also, he's further along in his life.
Yeah.
So it can be attributed to their bond getting stronger because he's had to take that Ferrari out of the garage a couple times.
He ends up. It's entirely likely when he does ride Sunfire to battle, it will probably be the first time that has ever happened. Like, do you think they've gone like hunting? Do you think he's like taken Sunfire to attack anybody? No, that hasn't happened. So
it's like we get in Fire and Blood, we get noted mentions of people who take their dragons out for what we could consider pleasure rides.
Yeah.
And Aegon is never among those. Absolutely. You're right there.
And I think I'm going back down to C, just because of what I just said about the battle.
No, drop them to C.
Like, battle seems to be a very important part of the dragon bond. The two of them like relying on each other to survive a situation. He just doesn't do that with Sunfire. So when he does it, it will be the first time.
The way I think of the dragon bond, right, like from like just like a bare bones perspective, is when you bond with the dragon, you have these initial minglings of your like brain waves of your psychic dragon powers or whatever like forming. Sure. So if you're not constantly trying to strengthen that, like sending things out to that path and interacting with what the dragon sends back, like you're not going to grow it. So like absolutely do you need to be like, I'm saying Dracarys, but I mean it like this.
Yeah, like I said in the video, all different ways Dracarys is used. I think if Aegon said it to Sunfire, Sunfire would just be like, all right, so I'm just going to breathe some fire over here somewhere. Cool. And not really probably pick up the intention of it. I think that's important. Also, I'm assuming most of the people that are watching this or watching in the future have seen the video, that it is a psychic connection. So the strength of the dragon bond is how closely their minds and souls have basically become one. How close they are to skin changers, I guess.
How much of your time are you spending with that being? Like how much of your time are you going and spending with, in Aegon's case, Sunfire? Like in Rhaenys' case, Melee, she'd been a dragon rider longer than anyone else has when the Council of the Blacks happened in the books, right?
Yep.
So you think about her, you think about Daemon. Obviously, the older you are, the longer you've been bonded to your dragon. That's kind of like a marker point that we can establish. But like Rhaena and Dreamfire,
Helena.
like she would take Dreamfire out.
No,
before Rhaena and Dreamfire, she would take Dreamfire out for pleasure rides the same way Rhaenyra takes Syrax out for pleasure rides. Like establishing that connection cannot be dismissed. Is all I'm gonna say.
More time together does matter, but quality time also matters. What you're doing with that.
And I'm hoping, like, I would love to see any of these dragons that we haven't been actually shown in the show so far, like other than like a glimpse in a shot. I'd love to see some kind of Aegon 2 Sunfire connection, but until I see it,
it's also just not in the books. So let's go to a controversial one next. Aemond, or Aemon Targaryen, and the great granny herself, Vhagar. So I sort of said my piece in my video. What do you think, Mallory? Where do you think the two of them go on this?
I do not think it's good. I think it's gonna piss people off what my opinion is, but also I think that a dragon that has been bonded once before has the strongest connection with their original rider.
Okay.
Like, so, I think that connection is reflected in Lena and Vagar, but I think that Aemon wields Vagar more like a tool
Mm-hmm.
than an actual dragon. So I'm gonna say C as well. I'm gonna give him C. Honestly, D is my heart's answer, and I'm
Ooh,
interested to hear
you
your
want him down in
opinions.
D.
I'm mad. I'm mad at this.
I'm going C as well. And I think the stuff I brought up in my videos, particularly about how poorly Aemond has control over her, that she does just like straight up go to kill Arax and Luke while he's screaming, no, 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 stop, does not show a strong dragon bond. It shows that, if anything, Vagar may be closer to the dominant one, or at least a lot
So put
closer
it
than
in
most
D.
dragons.
So D because I feel that, and then also like I feel like there is no control really. The idea of are having an illusion of control.
Yeah.
It's Vagar and Aemond is the example. So I'm gonna say put him in D. Like I don't think that he is in charge there. Um, when he gets on top of Vagar, I think Vagar has done this enough times where she's like, "Boy, you don't even know the power that you sit upon." Like, and also like she's old and she's like,
She's
you ain't
cranky.
Visenya. I don't really have to listen to you.
Uh,
Like, you're not my mom. Sorry.
that's true. There was a commenter on my video that sort of made the point of how much do I think Vagar is influencing Aemond, and I think that's a good question. That if you're talking about over time, it tends to the dragon rider becomes master, and the dragon itself becomes servant, more or less. That's how they tend over time. And at this point in their relationship, Aemon and Vagar are probably a lot closer than most people are. Like a lot closer to like a new dragon picking them up, because it hasn't been that long since he even mounted Vagar. And as you said, she's particularly willful. So I can see D, but I want to put it in C only because what we saw during the episode of when he attacked is that clearly Vagar is listening to him, in the sense of listening to his emotions. The connection is there, that his rage is being transferred at a very high rate. It's just he doesn't know how to control it. So
Okay.
it's not like he just jumped on
I
her
hear you.
back. It's just that he doesn't know how to control it.
I hear you. I love you. And I think your beautiful theory video is beautiful. But I'm gonna
Ooh.
say this. A 5'2" person with a 100 pound, two 100+ pound dogs that I walk frequently and have to be in control of. I'll tell you, yeah, the training and the authority
Mm-hmm.
like of your person can only go so far though. Like at the end of the day, Aemond is trusting in Vagar to do what he wants. And like you said in your video, what is the threshold, like the crossroads here? It's when Arax blows the fire in Vagar's face, when
Mm-hmm.
Arax reacts to the taunting, right? So it's like, and then we have animals and animals. And like, I completely know that if any moment my dogs are named Beric Dog Darien and Liana Bark and Dana Dogfire,
Yep.
our three dogs,
Of course.
I know that if any moment, even the baby, even the 75-pound baby Dana, at any moment, if they decided that the person in front of me like needed to like be attacked because they were too much of a threat, I would be not able to control them. I would not be able to hold them back. Does that make me a bad dog owner? Probably. But the point of what we're talking about is dragons.
Yeah.
Imagine a Great Dane or a Cane Corso or a what's your favorite Burmese Mountain
Oh,
Dog.
I love Bernese Mountain
That's how long
Dogs.
we've known each other. I know your favorite dog. A
Love them.
Burmese Mountain Dog with wings that could breathe fire. Like that is a threat on its own.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Like um, I think that the more that you influence with your kindness and your interactions with these creatures, the more control you have over them. So I'm not saying that Aemond is not around Vagar all the time. I'm saying Vagar is 100 years old. She's fucking tired. All of
150.
her horns have fallen out.
She
Yeah,
she
at
was
this
born
point,
before the
150.
conquest by like 50 years, so
I
she's
was being kind to
yeah,
her.
she's like 170 or something like that. Pretty old. All right,
Don't
I think
make
I've
me
been
get the dragon
outvoted, and the
out.
chat outvoted me too. Everyone that said anything said D tier, so I think that's fair. And I think there's a
Stanley!
good question going into season 2 and season 3, and even a question in the books of a lot of Aemon's bad reputation is a lot of shit that happens with Vagar in the future. And
I don't give a damn about your reputation.
oh my god, and this season probably too. And I think there's a reasonable question looking at episode 10 of season 1 of like, is that all Aemon? Or did Vagar kind of do a lot of stuff on her own? Does she even listen to him? Unclear.
I think she's humoring the idea of listening to him.
She
She's
certainly
like,
had no
yeah,
interest
sure.
in letting him ride her. She tried really hard to kill him.
I mean, did she? I feel like she could have done worse. I feel like she was just like, okay, I will say this for Aemond. I will say House of the Dragon really made me like him. I already liked him more than I should have as a lifelong Black stan.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like Aemond though because Aemond hangs out with spoiler at spoiler, and I like that vibe. It's a castle. It has witchy
Oh my god.
elements.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
I like that character and I like those things going on. But the Aemond we have right now, I didn't like at all until I saw House of the Dragon, and I was like, okay. I was like, all right, he is trying really hard. He saw an opportunity to do something good for his family and his mummy, and he did it. And I'm like, all right, because you had like he held on while Vagar tossed him
By
around.
a
But did he
finger.
like?
Like she was straight up trying to kill him. And it wasn't like
I don't know.
she could have done
I don't
more.
know
Like
about
she
that.
could have, I guess, like put her back into the water or something like that, or done like 15 barrel rolls in a row. But
She could have rolled over on him on the sand.
I
She could
guess
have like circulated herself in
she
fire
was
and
trying to
shook
kill
him
him
off.
though. He came really close to dying like 5 times.
Oh, he could have fallen off at any time, but that feels like an adequate test, doesn't it?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'll give her that. I'll
if
give
I
him
could,
that.
I'd put him between C and D, but I've been outvoted. Aemond and Vagar in D tier. So let's move on to the Queen of the Blacks, Rhaenyra Targaryen, and Syrax. So I talked about her a fair bit, that they are showing off quite a bit of dragon bond between the two of them during the season. We have the birthing scene where Syrax flashes twice on the screen, and similar to the way that Bran would have his visions. And I looked up the jaws. It is actually Syrax. It's just like a very small
No,
one
it's
for some
absolutely
reason.
Cyrax.
It's like they didn't use,
It's her.
yeah, it's just her jaw. They didn't use they. It looked like they use a mini model instead of the one that they use for the rest of the shots, if I had to guess. Like the scale is a little weird, but it is Cyrax. And of course, we saw during the scene on the causeway when Otto shows up and says, "Hey, you're not queen." Cyrax almost kills them, and and
Also,
and Rhaenyra just basically goes like, "Hey, hey, hey! I know I'm angry. You stop it."
it's also the whole Cyrax with Caraxes and the way they sing to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier on with young Rhaenyra, there's Cyrax when she burns the funeral pyre
Yep.
of mom. There's like Cyrax is a very emotive and responsive dragon.
Yes.
She's based on a falcon. I did discover the two primary artists
Oh yeah.
responsible for the dragon designs. I think I mentioned that too, but I found some like early concept art of her and how she was based on a falcon. So birds, as we know from living with birds or seeing birds on the internet, are super expressive. So I feel like she is very easy to read, which makes our understanding as a viewer easier to see Cyrex and Rhaenyra, whereas we deal with a dragon like Vagar that's based on what, a turtle or a T Rex that's old
Yeah.
and slow. It might be harder for us to interpret. But I would honestly rank Rhaenyra and Cyrex as A.
Mm-hmm.
I love those shots so much of when Rhaenyra's giving birth because it brings up the essence of what the dragon bond is. My theory, which isn't by any means mine, it's just putting pieces together, is what pays for the dragon bond, what makes the dragon bond work, what is the essence of it. It's just that Targaryens lose children. We have those deformed babies
Mm.
and everything. like death pays for life. This whole
Yeah, I've talked about that one.
thematic element.
The
Yeah,
dragon
everybody has.
seeds being the
Yeah,
dragons.
yeah.
That could make some sense. I
I
would
think like when we get to the heart of it, that's what it is.
could
It's
be.
all there laid out in little clues.
It's like a little bit like Alien. Actually, Amanda, our Crowfoot's daughter, mentioned that on. She commented on the video and she said aliens. I know what she meant. She has a different theory about it, where the dragon bond and the dragons come from. But like, I think it's not dissimilar to like to the way, like, there's probably a, I mean, there is a genetic connection between them. But anyway, um, for in terms of Rhaenyra and Cyrax, you said A. People in the chat are saying A. I'm gonna say B. And
Against our queen.
against the queen. I'm going
Boo!
against her.
Boo against you, magician.
The reason is, and this is going to be, it's clear they have a strong emotional bond. I don't think Rhaenyra has a strong command bond over Cyrax in the same way that other writers do. That she can make Cyrax do what she wants, because, in particular, the scene on the causeway, according to Rhaenyra's reaction, Cyrax got out of control for a second there. She started emoting what Rhaenyra was feeling, and she had to like give her a glare and basically like stop, or like mentally or something like
Okay.
that. Whereas we don't see those kind of outbursts from the two character, at least the two characters we know we're gonna say are S, where those dragons
So let's.
are completely under control. They can make them do
I
whatever
need
they
a.
want.
I need a clarifier for the tier list.
Okay.
It is completely under control
Yeah.
of the writer and highly bonded. Because
Yes.
I was going off like their ranking, just their bond. Okay. I still say A
Okay.
because later, but I can hear you on your B argument. She does show the emotions in an untowards way when she might need to be less sassy. But again, she's a bird.
That's true. I think the thing that might convince me to go A is that the birthing scene, where that is so
Yeah, the
clearly
birthing scene is really.
that's so clearly showing that their minds are really close to being one. They're not quite there, but when strong emotions come through, the two of them just essentially lock in together, which is not something we see from Aemond. I doubt we'll see from Aegon and Sunfire. That is a signifier that they do have a strong connection, a very strong one.
I would say if I had to rank their bond, I would say their bond is S. But
Interesting.
their control, that's why I was like cranking it down to A. So not quite the way I see like my very clear S tier bonds.
Okay.
But
I'm willing to be
yeah.
convinced A. We'll put Rhaenyra and Cyrax in A. It's
That is
close.
saying B
I
and A.
I would say
so it's
there's,
really up to
if you're thinking about it in terms of like sports, it's like there's a lot of potential there. If they develop it
There's a lot
more,
of
it could go a lot higher. But Rhaenyra has, uh, what's the way to say this? She has taken a lot of joyrides. She has spent a lot of time with Cyrax, but she's also spent a lot of her time trying to be a politician, I guess. And the riders who have the top tier connection, I would say, to their dragons have done a lot more of making that almost like their primary job, being like a dragon rider, if that makes sense, or close to
right.
it. She could. I think she and Cyrax definitely have that capability. That birthing scene is crazy. The fact that they drew on Bran and skin changing shows you that they're telling you it's close, but not quite.
You keep using skin changing, and I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but really, what I think you mean is magic.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're just like magic because like it's the same vibe, but like I think I Profood's daughter and also Radio Westeros just came out with excellent dragon videos, and they talk about like the song that Vermothor
Yeah.
is sang by Damon, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they talk about like the three heads singing to the third, or the two heads singing to the third, which is the dragon rider, and like the bond. And it's like it's magic, right? Like, and then also there's the suggestion of the Valerian genetic engineering
Sure.
where they're like inserting like you said, like alien like fetuses
Yeah.
situations really
There's weird
upset
stuff
me.
going on. I'm just saying that I'm using skin changing as the stand-in for like what would be the height of control you could have over an animal in this universe. Skin changing's the top.
Right.
That would be the best. You take over
Yeah.
them body and soul. That, and I don't think any dragon rider has that, but the closer you get to that, the higher the top the tier would be, I guess.
No, I hear you. That's honestly it's the perfect in world comparison. It's just like I think like I had never compared skin changing to the dragon bond in that essence,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
It's just
Yeah,
like
okay,
it's a
I
little
got you.
bit
Let's go.
lesser in terms of what they can do. So
Right. Who's up next?
next up we have Bela and Moon Dancer, who will be introduced this season. We already know that Bela has Moon Dancer, not a spoiler. Moon Dancer is a itty bitty little dragon. Um,
Eyes of a war horse.
yeah, she's not that big. She's a little dragon, and this is going to be kind of a running theme. It's a very new bond between the two of them, you know? But it also matters how much they work at it. So, what do you think about Bela and Moon Dancer?
I like I am inclined to say like at least an A,
Really
maybe
interesting.
even like I don't okay, you said new bond and
It's relatively. It's not like decades.
it's not that old, but also like Bela is the daughter of Lena and Vagar. Is she on this list? Where is she? There she is.
Yes, yes.
That's an obvious S. Like that's an obvious S. Like
Hmm.
S plus even I would argue. So like I think that Bela has there's some Targaryens that are more I say this all the time like there's Targaryens that are more fire and there are Targaryens that are more blood and the Targaryens that are more fire that are more dragon like the way that they bond their dragons is more intense.
Hmm.
So looking just at who we have on this like chart here, we've got Aegon, Aemond, and Rhaenyra, right? So Rhaenyra, I would argue, is more fire, even though she gets embroiled in a lot of like blood drama. But Aegon and Aemond are definitely more blood. Does that make any sense whatsoever? Or do I sound like an insane person?
I am tracking what you're saying. So, where is this going with
Thank you.
Bela?
So Bela is definitely more fire.
Okay.
She is more dragon. She is like she's got Daemon's blood, she's got Lena's blood. She has two very prominent dragon riders as her father and mother. So I think she would be an A or a B at the minimum, bare minimum. Chat, help me out.
Yeah, chat. What do you think? Throw a letter on it while I'm
Bela,
thinking of my response. So this is one that's
he's
difficult
gotta think.
because the things we know that Moon Dancer and Bela do is massive spoilers, and we also don't know if they're going to
Mhm.
do it. So,
Let's look at just the trailer, okay? Let's look at just the way that they move together as a unit in the trailer, right? Like that's some in sync shit. That's what I'm gonna argue right now. They're like bye 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 bye.
they're
The
in
Christmas Bowl.
sync. Oh my god. Not Backstreet Boys, not 98 Degrees. Uh,
Oh.
just based on how new it is, I feel like I want to throw her in C tier. Like she has passion for it, and yes, she does have Lena and Damon as parents, but it's a well, I don't know. She hatched it as a baby, didn't she? Did,
Yeah, it was a cradle
oh,
egg.
okay. Uh, okay, yeah, I'll throw her in B tier. I think I
So we had Vermax, Arax, Tyraxes,
yeah,
Dancer, and then
Morning.
Reyna's that did not Morning. Yeah,
Oh wait, no,
eventually Morning.
Morning. Did she hatch Morning?
Yeah, she did hatch Morning. But it took a
It took a long time.
long
Yeah,
while.
we saw
Yeah,
her in
we
in
had all
season
those
one being
cradle
like,
eggs.
I want this egg to hatch like right now, and being very self conscious about it. Yeah, she hatched it as a baby too. Whereas when we're talking about
Cradle egg.
the other, some of them didn't do that right away.
Chat is saying B. Thank you, chat.
Okay,
That's right.
I'll go B for Bela. That one checks
I'm
out.
gonna B for bullying you
So
into putting Bela into B. Thank you.
I'm wondering what they're gonna do with her and Moon Dancer because there's some cool stuff they do that's spoilers, but
So just based on the trailer and what we've heard about like the design of Moon Dancer, they were like, we're gonna make her punk rock. And I was like, show me punk rock. And they showed me like the little snippet, and I was like, okay, I see the vision. Like, she's kind of like aerodynamic
Yeah,
and stealthy and like, pow, like a peregrine
sure.
falcon. I'm like, give it to me. I'm excited.
Oh, for the chat, Sparkler Black asks, why is Aemon so bad? Because he has basically no control over Vhagar. That Vhagar's doing what she wants.
Rhaegar is just so old and so powerful and been at this for so long that, like, he's what, 16, 13 to 16
Something
when he
like that.
mounts her for the first time. I hate saying it like that. It sounds so sexual. I'm so sorry.
You didn't have
When he
to say it that
claims
way.
her
That
for
was
the
kind of a
first
you
time.
choice, but sure.
It's a Sandry choice for sure. Um, but like the first time he claims her, he's so young and she has so much experience and so much behind her. It's like how much of it is actually his decision. And I compared it to like, walking a dog that weighs the same thing
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
you.
Anyway,
Point.
that's why. It's because it seems like Vhagar doesn't really listen to Aemon very much, and he's not even. And he uses a lot of vocal commands, and he uses a lot of like horse riding techniques to control her, which is indicative of somebody that doesn't really have control over the dragon in the same way. Anyway, so next up we have Daddy Damon. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw him an S right away. I don't think we chat. This is Damon's an S, right? Mallory.
Damon is obviously an S. Yeah, he was one of maybe, I can't see the full list, but he's definitely two of the S's I saw immediately.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, Caraxes doesn't really need to be told what to do.
Nope.
Caraxes can just feel what to do.
That is the whole thing with him coming down the causeway and Caraxes on Dragonstone when Damon's asking the Kingsguard if they're traitors or not. The fact that not only is Damon not surprised, he's expecting it, and Caraxes is basically interjecting himself into conversations on cue shows that their connection is insanely strong. And I was talking earlier about like the idea that they like how much you've been with your dragon, how much you do with it. Daemon is constantly with Caraxes. He spent years at war with Caraxes, and the thing where he got shot in with the arrow, I didn't catch that on my first watch through. I went back and saw it. Caraxes is getting hit with like 30 different flaming arrows. He's like, yeah, whatever. Daemon gets hit, and Caraxes goes, what the? Okay,
No,
hang on. This
excuse me, that's
sucks.
my dad.
Nobody touches Daemon. How does Craxes know that Daemon has got hit?
Father.
He freaks out like it was him. So their connection is, it's like Danny with the Shade of the Evening with Drogon.
Drogon.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how in tune they are.
It's also the show version I would say we got in Game of Thrones is what's his face Tarly, dickhead Tarly, Randall Tarly.
Oh yeah, their
When
execution.
she's like, yeah, goodbye, good night, and she doesn't even have to tell Drogon specifically this
Yeah,
asshole.
that's
Like
crazy.
it's
Like,
it's like that's a dragon that you've been through shit with,
yeah,
you know?
they
Yeah.
finish each other's sentences
So
exactly. Daemon and Caraxes
precise.
may as well be one and the same at this point. And there's actually a weird recognition for Otto when Caraxes comes over the curtain wall and starts screaming and flies down. Daemon just keeps glaring at him. Otto goes like, "Oh shit! Like you're gonna make that dragon kill me without even getting on it, aren't you?" And
Hmm.
ends up backing down. So
Well,
easy
he
S
was
for
also
Daemon.
like that was the time when Caraxes and Cyrax had their little singing
Yeah,
bit where it was like Caraxes chilling Cyrax out, like, no, we got this, like, look at mom and dad, look what they're doing here, and we'll follow their cues. So it's like dragon to dragon coaching, right?
yeah.
Which is important and part of the S tier bond. Solid S all around, my guy. Who's next?
This is a tricky one. We have Queen Helena and Dreamfire. The tricky part is that they bonded extraordinarily early, and Dreamfire herself is a much desired and powerful dragon in her own right, but never was used in war. Rhaena just used her, but constantly. So we know that from the connection between the previous rider, Rhaena and Dreamfire, extremely strong, but it was more a casual sort of way, I guess, enjoying being a dragon rider. Like I imagine you would if you were a dragon rider. Your relationship with a dragon would be Rhaena and Dreamfire, and it seems to be more the same with Helena. Helena bonded extraordinarily early with an old powerful dragon, but then hasn't really done anything with it.
I have so much to say about this, but I have to ask you, and this is so selfish, but which dragon do you think I would have?
Dreamfire.
This is very important. A Dreamfire? Okay, thank you. I accept that. Obviously, Helena Dreamfire, her dreams that they inserted into House of the Dragon,
Yes.
which is interesting. Um, their bond may be something that we don't see on screen in the same way.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of like beautiful. Dreamfire is obviously the mother to a lot of the
Many.
dragons.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have Dreamfire, Cyrax being notable like mothers, notable multiple clutches at this point, right? So I think like it's really hard for me because their bond is probably really strong. Their bond is probably like A to S, but like how much they show that and how much
It's
they're
a
in
lot of
control of their
inference.
dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean like I'm gonna say like B at the strongest, C at the worst. That is my heart.
I think
I love Helena. I love Dreamfire, but everything that happens, spoiler.
I would have to say I think B as well, only because lack of evidence. There's like
Yeah.
in Fire and Blood, the dream stuff is not there. We really know nothing about Helena and Dreamfire within Fire and Blood, but we've gotten a lot of information comparatively in House of the Dragon and a lot more about Helena. So it's entirely possible they're going to give us way more information about her relationship to her dragon, especially since she constantly has dragon dreams. If that is somehow related, like that could easily kick her up to S, but I think it's just a lack of information. But the age that she bonded with Dreamfire and the nature of a dragon like Dreamfire, I think implies that at least a B easily could go to S if like her dreams and Dreamfire. I mean, the name is it's there. Her name is
It's
Dream.
also like Dreamfire is one of the older dragons at that point. It's not a hatchling, it's not a
No,
cradle egg. Notably, Aegon and Helena and Aemond were not given cradle eggs. Like that was the first generation Greens were not given cradle eggs.
yeah,
That's noted. But like the choice of Dreamfire of all the dragons available, like it just like it speaks to her connections with animals and like kind
mm-hmm.
of like the mystical, etherical
She's a
side of the
mystical dragon.
world.
That's the implication.
Yeah,
There's also the
yeah.
story of after. This isn't. I don't want to spoil this. I is the thing with the island after or before?
After.
Okay, I don't want to spoil that. But anyway, there's a very key thing that happens later in Dreamfire's life that also heavily implies the mystical connection with that dragon to the ethereal. So her and
Wait, are you
Helena,
talking about the island like Dragonstone or the
the
island?
island.
Okay. No, there's another thing. On one of my rereads of Fire and Blood, I not discovered, but like it's like a lion stood out for me more as a dragon-minded person, and Septon Barth straight up says Dreamfire when Rhaenys like cries out in anguish, like crawls up in the sky and like screams her draconic cry, and it's like that moment of Septon Barth witnessing this connection between the dragons was very solidly felt. So Dreamfire has proven to have very strong bonds with people before.
Yeah,
So the age and the dragon choice, I would say a solid B without much more evidence.
I expect we'll
That's
probably get more this season. They've put a lot of effort into
Oh, I
Helena,
hope.
a lot of
I
effort
hope.
into her
I
character.
really like what they're adding to her.
If we're including the books, how is Aegon that low? Because I think the same is true of Aegon in the books as in the show. He's the same person. He's a
Mhm.
he. Well, you can kind of go back and watch our explanation, but basically, Sunfire deserves a better rider. He doesn't seem to care much about the dragon itself. The dragon,
If you
what it
have
later does, I
a
think, is
giant,
mostly on its own.
right, how much influence and control of that is Aegon's is our argument. Who's next? We have Jace,
Jacaerys Falarian, him and Tyrak? No,
Vermax,
Vermax.
Vermax.
I remember Vermax
Um,
sounds like the name of a computer component.
I like that. That is your Matrix name from now on, Vermax.
Vermax.
Mine is Dongle. I okay, so hear me out on this.
Okay,
Like
go.
we have the one really cool rumor about Vermax and the thing Vermax does at Winterfell.
Yep.
but we really don't have any big instances on Vermax showing either extreme support of our credential right here or extreme
Yeah.
unsupport. So I would say like solid B, solid C
I,
at this point. Like we don't have proof that Vermax was super bonded to Jace, but also cradle egg, been with him his whole life. Um, doesn't disobey. So I'm pretty split on Vermax. You be the deciding factor here. Do it for Winterfell, do it for the Starks. Think about Vermax a whole bunch.
I'm willing to say B, especially for this version of Jace. Jace is a methodical and diligent and a prince that's interested in being exceptional, I guess. That's kind of his character
Okay.
traits in House of the Dragon, which you don't super get in Fire and Blood. That's sort of a new thing for him. So if we're talking about a difference between him and someone like Aegon, I would expect, and we've seen that Jace does put an effort even when he's scared to bond with Vermax, and I expect that has
We
continued.
do have sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's like we do have that whole scene of him in House of the Dragon, like putting in the work with his
That's
dragon,
what I'm talking
putting
about.
in the time and the
Yeah,
effort. Okay. Yeah, I absolutely hear you. I would say A on that case. I hear you because and Jace was successful. Granted Jace so far hasn't gone against Vagar in the skies on an envoy mission,
yeah.
but
I'm
you know, sorry, it's really hard for me sometimes with the spoilers. I'm trying to be a good Sammy.
the
Trying.
spoilers are hard. Um, yeah, I'm willing to throw like a B. I think he's probably like the same as
B is
Baela,
good.
and I think the personality of the writer makes a big difference for what we're talking about. Like Aegon looks bored when he's having to be in the dragon pit and like dealing with Sunfire. He doesn't want to be there. Jace does. Jace is stepping up to something he's scared of. So I would say in the intervening years since then, Aegon has gone off to watch children fight and done all the other crazy shit he's done, and Jace is taking his role as future heir much more seriously, and that probably will cross over to Vermax. Well, it seems to anyway. So I think I'm good with that. Yeah, I was responding to Brando. She said if Aegon's a C, then Jace would be too. I think that their differences in character make a big difference.
Hi, Brando. I love you.
So next we have a controversial one, and that is because
Oh,
this is a
Lenore.
character that was supposed to be dead and is alive and
Uh,
has abandoned his dragon. We have Laenor and Sea Smoke. So, based on what we've talked about, I think you would have to give Sea Smoke and Laenor an A until he abandoned him, which I think a thing I don't think you could do. He gave up his dragon,
no,
so I can't give him an A anymore.
I really, I want to give him an S because I love Sea Smoke so much, but I can't even give him an A in this point.
I
And
think you have
like,
to
I
go
don't think
D.
it's necessarily that he necessarily abandoned his dragon, like with the intention of abandoning his dragon. But what is he supposed to do? Go live a life in hiding with a dragon?
Yeah, go to Valeria, hang out. It'll be cool.
How do you have a dragon? How do you have a pet dragon in this time? Like I can see both sides. I'm really glad that they gave Laenor a way out on the show.
Yeah,
I'm glad it down how it went in the books. But at the same I'm just mad about Sea Smoke because Sea Smoke, poor Sea Smoke, got fucking abandoned and he doesn't know what to do and his dad dropped him off at the shelter
yeah.
and then he's just like stuck in this like halfway house of Dragonstone, Dragonmount, like doesn't know what to do and dad's gone and then
Easy, Mallory. Easy. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm having a dragon
Susan
moment of the season.
Sarandon is about to start talking about the abandoned dogs.
In the arms of the
Don't get this
angel.
copyright claimed. What are you doing? Unbelievable.
That's you invited me on.
Yeah,
You
that's
invited
fair. That's
me
my
of
fault.
all people.
So I would
Put it
say
in B. Just put it in B for me, so I feel good about it.
I can't because he abandoned and severed
Cat,
the connection with Sea Smoke. Like
Shelly says S.
Sea Smoke takes a
Shelly
new
Love
rider.
97 says S. So
I don't agree with that. I don't
controversy.
think you can be
Um,
a high rating if you give up your bond with your dragon.
how do you even give up your bond with the
I don't
dragon?
know, but
Because
he's
I thought you
doing
had
it.
to die.
Sea Smoke takes a new rider, so
I
they found
saw
a
a
way.
post on Tumblr.com and somebody drew Sea Smoke with the Wi-Fi disconnectivity signal
It's something.
thingy, and I was like, okay, that's gotta be it. Um, can we compromise on B or C,
I will
please?
compromise
I
on
don't
C,
love
but
one
my
in
heart
D.
says D because he abandoned Sea Smoke.
Okay, C is fine. I'll take C.
I
I'm
think it should
upset
be
about
D,
this.
but
Egg is gonna yell at
I'm
me.
willing to be nice.
You are getting me in trouble in the future.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get yelled at this for streams.
So the next one is a little strange because I'm not sure if he has a dragon, and that is Joffrey Valarian. In Fire and Blood,
Joffrey has a dragon.
he is Tyrax. Does Tyraxes exist in House of the Dragon? I don't know.
Not yet, but canonically, like if we have Fire and Blood as reference, he had a cradle egg. He has Tyraxes. We haven't been shown Tyraxes, but we have Vermax and Arax, so it makes sense we would get him.
He's so little though.
We have no information about this.
We have no
Though,
information if
whatsoever.
Joffrey actually has Tyraxes. If he
So we
does,
have to put this in D.
I think we have to put it.
No information means D.
Yeah.
If you won't let
Yeah.
me put the bond that Sea Smoke and Laenor once shared in B, this has to go in D.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
fair.
we're
I
just
mean,
playing
it's
hopefuls
almost
and
it's like an incomplete in college on a course.
yeah.
It's like I don't even know if the dragon exists. If it does, it is so recent. It cannot be that strong.
Can you kind of like stick them off to the right, or does it just like snap it?
I can
Oh, it
order
snaps
them,
it.
so I can put him in front of Aemond, so that his is stronger that way.
Okay.
So we can do it like that.
That feels more fair to
Here,
Aemond.
here. I'll be
Thank
nice,
you.
and I'll put Laenor in front of Aegon. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Damon says
We've been
Tyraxes
asked
in
to do
episode
Arya
10. All
and
right, so
Balerion.
Tyraxes does exist. All right, fair enough. But I would say incomplete on what he is with to Joffrey. And if they'll have Joffrey
He
even
exists,
ride
but we
him.
have been shown nothing.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So this one is also sort of a maybe. And this is Rhaena and Morning. Where, as we were talking about, Rhaena and Morning bonded much later in life than much of these other ones. And Morning is very, very, very little.
But also, Rhaena carried that egg around for how long?
Years.
And Dany carried those eggs around for how long?
Like 6 months.
And
Something like that, right? It was pretty short.
something like that. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Because Lena's daughter, I just like want to put it, but I just checked. I want to put it higher, but I just checked myself on that. So I'm gonna say we really don't have that much information, and we've been shown nothing in the trailer. So how do we rank this one, Joey McWizards?
I think we put it right there,
Dr.
Joffrey as
Professor
an
Magician.
incomplete.
Okay.
Which is, some of these are going to be like that, because we just don't know anything. Are we going to do Araya and Balerion? Araya and Balerion, I don't even have to think about it. That's a D or an F. Araya has no control.
Yeah.
Balerion's doing whatever he wants.
Balerion is sailing that ship. Absolutely. D minus.
F, if even. Like, that is Balerion's show. Araya has no control over it. So next up, we have an instant S. That is Rhaenys and Meleys going right there to the top. All the things we said about Daemon are true about Meleys and Rhaenys. Rhaenys constantly flies her dragon. She has expert psychic control, gets Meleys to do anything and everything she wants with little more than a thought. No commands, no physical cues. Meleys is basically under her total control and has been for decades. I think there's no way it's not S.
Absolute S. I agree. Hard agree. I mean, I feel like the whip in her case, the whip is just for show.
Ceremonial.
Right?
Like, she doesn't need it.
Absolutely. Like, tap tap. The way you would ride a horse that you really trust, you would have a whip where you just like tap it on the sides. Like, haha, here we go.
Like we saw.
Okay, absolute S. Absolute agree.
There's a similar thing where Lena, when she's flying with Vhagar in that scene where they're doing the air show, she like gives Vhagar a little tap on her back, but that's not part of it. That's just like affectionate. That's just like part of a ritual. It has nothing to do with controlling the dragon. And we saw in the dragon pit, they showed it off with Melis. The dragon is just an extension of Rhaenys.
Hmm.
There is no difference between the two of them. They are one and the same.
Right. She claimed her very young and has been her master for many years, for sure.
Uh,
But it goes back and forth for sure.
yeah. The only difference I would say that Daemon's might be stronger is that he has actually taken Caraxes into battle a lot.
I don't. Okay. I don't know. The fact that Rhaenys predates his dragon bond, I just think she's slightly better. Like Damon's S tier, Rhaenys is maybe leaning on S plus. And also maybe it's because I love Rhaenys. Maybe it's
Fair.
because maybe Melee's is my favorite. That's fine. S plus.
I would say
Next Dragon Rider. Is that
they
egg?
they equal each other out. Daemon and Caraxes have done way more dangerous things, but Rhaenys and Melis have been together longer.
Okay, I hear you. This is egg 3 and Stormcloud.
No, this is Aegon the Younger, Mallory.
Oh shit! I don't know the Wikipedia drawings.
This is Aegon the Younger. This is the eldest son between Rhaenyra and Daemon. At this point, he is basically a toddler. It is unclear if he has his dragon Stormcloud. Actually, Girl Nettles, if you're in the chat, did he say Stormcloud as well? I don't remember if he did or not. I don't know if this dragon exists. They barely introduced Aegon, and also obviously um, his
Yeah, so egg 3 is Aegon the Younger, right?
yeah,
Or is that egg 4?
egg three.
Yeah, so I was right. Thank you. And Stormcloud, thank
I have no
you.
idea if they
So this
exist.
one,
Aegon barely exists in the show. I think he goes right down here in the incomplete section. Who knows if the dragon exists?
yeah.
Who knows if the character even is going to exist? I mean, he will, but I mean, it's such a little dragon. He's basically an infant. I don't think you can do anything other than throw him in D.
Is it a spoiler to say what the book tells us about them? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's the definition of a
Yeah, that's
spoiler.
literally
Thank you,
the.
Mallory.
There's quite a
Great
big
job.
spoiler.
Um, but we have like half of a sentence, so we don't have like barely any information.
So
So I'd love anything Hat D gives us on them, but we don't really have anything right now to go for.
yeah.
You know,
So
like we can't.
next up, we have a drawing of a kid, and that is because this is Daron of House Hightower. He's
Yeah.
more Hightower than a Targaryen. Daron and Tessarion. So this is a curious one because they have barely mentioned him, but they do have a role in Fire and Blood, and they may be showing up this season. This is a tough one because it's 100% spoilers to say what we think about them.
Mm-hmm. D because that's where they have to go.
I would say C.
I would say C based on the spoilers we know, but
Yeah.
I would say D based on what we know about them. So
The Blue Queen. Yeah,
I really want to see her. Please give me her.
but
please.
Tessarion is also, I think, an egg hatch. I mean, a
Mhm.
hatched as
Cradle egg.
a cradle hatch. They've been together for a long time, and Daron is a very different character from his older brother Aegon. He's he's a lot more focused, sort of like Aemond is, but in a less ragey way. So between him and Aegon, even though Daron is younger and so is Tessarion, I would expect that he probably has a better connection, or has tried to make one. Aegon probably has not tried.
I don't know if Tessarion was a cradle egg. I think Tessarion was a young dragon.
It might be a young
Um,
dragon, but Tessarion
I
itself is very
think
young.
yeah, Tessarion is very small and very young, and
She.
sorry, she only has he being
Oh, Daron.
Darren
Yeah.
only has like one interaction, really notably before things happen and stuff goes down. But
But it's also interesting.
yeah,
Tessarion went
Tessarion
with
is very
him
young.
to Old Town. He didn't
Hmm.
leave Tessarion behind in the dragon pit. Took her. So
Very young.
yeah, that's got to be something. He's doing it without dragon keepers. It's just him and his dragon out there.
Yeah, Tessarion's fire is blue. Tessarion is described as like a Here, let me look at the sheet really quick. I have it pulled up. Blue with wings that are considered dark cobalt, claws and crests, and belly of copper, and their fire is cobalt. So cobalt blue, cobalt is like a dark,
Like a grayish blue
kind of
sort of
like
thing.
gray tinged
Yeah.
blue. Yeah. So like they are the blue queen, absolutely.
So yeah, I would throw that probably, yeah, C tier. But then again,
Yeah,
I
I would
mean, we
say
don't know
C for spoilers, but
a hot D Daron. We don't know what he's gonna be like. I mean, obviously, like we were
it's
talking
gonna
about,
be George.
Jace is a very different character from Fire and Blood Jace. Fire and Blood Jace is like young Harwin,
Yeah,
where
very
he's
much
this is
more
that is
Harwin
not what
flavor.
Show Jace is.
It's more Rhaenyra
Yeah.
influenced, would you say? Like mommy's boy, like listening, being a good boy. Like not that book Jace wasn't, but the more of
Well,
the
some of the
flavor of
stories
Harwin. You're
imply that
absolutely
he
right.
was a bad boy once he got outside of mom's influence.
Hmm. That's true. Well, that's what he's about to go do.
Yeah. So then next up we go to the dead dragon riders, unfortunately. Lena Valarian. Just gonna go ahead and throw her up an S. That's
Yeah.
not even close. The girl knows Google's. She said she Googled. Damon did not say Stormcloud, so might not get that dragon at all this season.
I think that would be later. I think that would be season 3 or season 4 if
Possibly.
and when. I think this season we're gonna get Vermithor, Silverwing, obviously. I don't know if we'll get Cannibal, Sheepstealer, and Grey Ghost. We were promised the 3 wilds originally in an EW article, but I don't know if we're gonna see all of them in this season or not. Hopefully we will.
Yeah,
Um, Other dragons we'll see definitely Moondancer.
we've seen Moondancer. Yep.
Morning won't be this season. We've seen more Moondancer. Yeah, we'll see Sunfire.
Mm-hmm.
We will hopefully see Dreamfire.
Unclear. Maybe. We'll see what they do with Helena.
Tyrakis maybe.
Maybe Helena will find some way her way into the dragon pit. She
Max.
does a lot of weird things, so who knows. Um, I'm
Yeah.
also trying to dance around things because I have seen the episode
Mm-hmm.
already because I got screeners. So try not to put
Uh-oh.
spoilers out there. I'm like in my head, I'm about to answer things I know, and I'm like, nope, stop yourself. But yeah, so Lena and Vagar. Lena and Vagar is an
Big
obvious
shield
S.
bucks. Obvious S.
Obvious
Yeah.
S. We see their
I just love Lena so much. I'm sorry. She's perfect. She's never done anything wrong.
Lena was
Um
fantastic, and Vagar agreed. Vagar literally pouted and like threw a big dragony tantrum after she had to kill Lena, and followed her across the sea and laid there in the sand, basically crying more or less at the loss of her rider. Which, compare that to how Vagar treats Aemond, is night and day. I don't know if Vagar
okay.
would kill if Aemond fell off and it fell into the ocean.
Lena at age what? How old was she? Hang on. I've got
Same
it
age
right
as
here.
Rhaenyra, or close. Oh no, a little bit
She
younger.
was 11.
Yeah,
She was 11 or 12 when she claimed
yeah,
Vagar. But before that, we had the little scene with her between those beautiful little trees that was very Bridgerton coding going, "Where's Vagar? For I very much desire to speak
yeah.
with her." And I was like, yes, yes, yes. Like that is me. That is oh, I love her. I want to be her mom. I want to protect her. I just love her so much. She's such a very dragon-minded child. And I talked about earlier the fire and blood Targaryens, the ones that are more dragon and then the ones that are more like war and family, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
She's obviously more fire. She's obviously more dragon. We love her. She's amazing. Um yeah, put her where she belongs.
There's no
Give her
doubt
an
that
S.
her connection to Vagar was actually relatively new at the time of her death, but so strong. And I think the biggest way you can show that, I mean, the air show was a demonstration, but I pointed this out in my video that Vagar understood what she was asking for when she said Dracarys and refused because she cares that much about her. That's a level of bond that is so far beyond we're seeing with many other characters. It's just a word. It just means
Well,
dragonfire. And Vagar is like, I will not do that to you unless you make me. And then Lena made her.
there are moments from both Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon that will live with me, like that I will see when I close my eyes in perfect clarity until I die. And two of those were in your Dragon Bond video. One of them being when Vagar chomps Arax and turns him into meat chunks.
Yeah.
And then the other being obviously Lena and Vagar and the expressions. I was like, ooh, animators, thank you. Like they did the work. They made it they did a really good job and it
Yeah.
made me very happy.
Despite
It
the horrific
it
nature of the
hurt.
scene.
It hurt
Yeah.
so bad because like you implied like both the dragon and the rider were probably feeling that pain when
Yeah.
it went down. So that's not something that's easily forgotten.
Nope.
And then what? How many days later does a little boy climb on your back and say, "Let's fuck around"?
2-3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah,
I forget how long it takes to cross the narrow sea. Maybe like a week.
something like that.
Um,
Don't ask me about dates. That falls in the category of math.
yeah. So what Mallory is talking about with her feeling it, I brought this up in the video if you haven't seen it yet. I bring up the point that from Damon's example, and from Rhaenyra, the dragons feel strong emotions and pain and possibly pleasure that the riders are feeling when it overwhelms them. So when Vagar killed Lena, it's incredibly likely that Vagar felt that happening to herself, which is horrific on a level that I don't think. Yeah, it's hard to forget. And then when you start comparing it to what happens to the other dragons, I compared it to Dany and Drogon. They did the same thing. As soon as Dany was stabbed, Drogon goes, "What the fuck just happened?" and flies over to see in a way that he could not have known because she doesn't scream. Nobody's yelling for the guards. There's no sound. Drogon just knows. And in the same way, Vagar probably felt her own fire roasting Lena. I can't even imagine what that would be like. And it's like the downside of their bond. It's so strong that it like made it much worse than it had to be.
As an old person, I will just say like Vegas has seen shit beyond what you and I have seen shit. So Vagar knows stuff. But also something that when I was watching that part of the video, it made me think of was the Dragon Riders of Pern series, where there's a psychic dragon magic bond, in which they have a mental connection where they can literally think each other thoughts and telepathically communicate.
Yeah.
But if we remove that, it's basically the same thing, which was what made me so excited to see all these things in House of the Dragon, all the little dragon inferring rider moments, like when they are drunk, like our Drogon
Mm-hmm.
on the Shade of the Evening, and then when they're doing it, or when they're really mad, or when they're really happy,
Yep.
or when they're on substances, like, or when they're giving birth, like big strong feelings, big strong emotions can
Transfer. Yeah.
transfer between that psychic dragon magic bond. So who is next? We have our
Little
little baby boy
Lucerys.
Luke.
I think you can do no other than D.
Yeah.
Arax is totally out of control. Luke has no control over him. Even though they've been bonded for quite a long time, it just seems like it didn't get there. Although to be fair, the two of them were terrified. So in a sense, you could say, well, maybe it was stronger because they were both like it was what they were feeling was back and forth. Like Luke's terror fed into Arax, which fed into Luke and went back and forth. But Arax is during that scene completely loses it, starts acting on its own, and Luke has no control. I think you can only say it's a D at that point.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would argue for C for, like, times when we're not being shown, but D, to be fair to Vagar and Aemond, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
like,
in
they
the
are
interest of
terrifying. They
not
were
being an
trying to scare
obvious
them, but I
spoiler
mean,
plot.
it's unfortunate. It's like, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Oh, I know where the next one's going.
Oh, boy. Oh, hey, Amanda. How's it going? Amanda released a really good video today, by the way, guys, talking about the magic of Westeros. A 30-minute
Nice.
dissertation on how they all link together into one thing. It's pretty good.
I'm gonna check that out after this, absolutely.
Disputed Lands, by the way. I'm
Okay,
talking about Disputed Lands. Her name's Amanda. Sorry for doxing you. My bad. Okay, so we have Viserys the Peaceful and Balerion the Black Dread. Where are they going?
D. Hard D.
Ooh,
Then,
yeah,
he took him on one joyride and then never flew him again because he was, like, lightly afraid of dragons.
yep,
Like, he also like weirdly had a dragon dream apparently maybe
maybe.
um according to the show, and it's just like, what a choice, what an interesting choice, and like I want to know more. Maybe we can have a flashback in season 2, but I also really like that they made him a little figure warhead, Warhammer,
Little
like
nerd.
dad, like it's
Yeah,
beautiful,
it was
a
cute.
little nerd. Like it makes me sympathetic to Viserys from the book version, which was so like, what would you even call it? Like party dad, like not paying attention dad, oblivious dad.
Warhammer Dad works.
Warhammer dad. Okay, we're just gonna go with Warhammer dad.
Just sort of lost in his things. Tori Nightingale can't hear me. Uh, Anybody else not able to hear me? That would be a big problem. Mallory can hear me.
I can hear you.
Uh, Fingers crossed.
Brando, can you hear Joey McWizards? This seems like a good time.
Gonna breathe fire for a little bit. Yeah, I agree. There seems to be nothing between Viserys and Balerion. It's it,
Brando
it
can hear
it
you, so you're good.
it barely feels like a connection. I don't even know if they had one. Which at that point it kind of makes sense that Balerion, when he chose his quote unquote last rider, was somebody that basically did nothing. So that kind of checks out for like an aged, grumpy dragon that doesn't want to do shit. So yay, you picked a rider that won't make you do anything, unlike Araya, who that one's a little. I've tried to think about the logic behind it. I think basically what happened is Araya jumped on, and the thoughts she had were home and away from Rhaena. And Balerion went home, Valyria, away from Rhaena, Valyria, and that's what ended up happening because that's his
So,
home.
spoiler for the Kiss by Fire podcast, which you had the chapter or the pages rather, because this is like a book club, but where we
Yeah,
do page by page analysis of Fire and Blood. Um, you had the chapter or the section right before mine,
yeah.
right? So you had the thought that led up to
She
Arya
just
getting on
left.
Valerian, and then I had the consequences, i.e., the fireworms and the things that came out of her that
Yeah.
of the faces of people and stuff, and it was so messed up and so scary. But I would say Balerion was definitely the agency in that equation. Like Arya's intentions might have been to piss off her mom or piss off whoever and grab the biggest dragon. Um, or I guess it's Araya. I'm sorry, I always say that wrong. But I guess like what I'm saying is like Balerion was driving the train there. Like she was a passenger, and like you said, home. That's what she picked up on. While Araya might have meant King's Landing,
Yeah.
Balerion went to Valeria,
Away and
and she
home.
was a
That's what
passenger,
Balerion
and
went.
she very much suffered those consequences.
Yeah, that one
And
sucked.
I'm still haunted by that. I hope we never see that on screen. I don't want it.
Oh boy. Maybe we
Speaking
will.
of, I done want it. Who's next
Oh
up
yeah.
on the list, Joey
Hang
McWizards?
on a second. Amanda says, "Don't forget the 30-foot shadow baby that killed a dragon." I don't know if tough to put that one in a Dragon
Allegedly.
Bond list. And a question from Girl Nettles: do you think there's a difference between a dragon choosing a rider versus a rider claiming a dragon? Yes, I think as the dragons
Absolutely.
get older, they make more of a choice than they do when they're younger. When they're younger, I think it's just kind of like whoever shows up, it seems to be. Like there doesn't seem to be like a match of personality when you're talking about a cradle egg and the baby. It's just like they hatch, therefore they're bonded. It's kind of like a baby and a puppy. But when you're thinking about like Vagar and Balerion and Dreamfire, Vermithor, Silverwing, there seems to be a lot more. It's like they're taking their opportunity to be like, I want to make sure I pick somebody right, not just the first person that shows up. And what they want is kind of interesting. Like Vagar choosing Aemond, kind of curious about that one. Like, what did Vagar want out of Aemond? Clearly, Balerion, as we saw, as
Power.
yeah, and what we saw with Araya and Viserys, in both opportunities, it was just like Balerion saw the opportunity for adventure and then the opportunity to do nothing, and that's what he got out of his two riders.
I hear you, and I think you make very valid points, but I have to mention the wild dragons, and especially
Yeah.
sheep stealer and nettles and
Oh, we'll get to Nettles.
oh I'm sorry, yeah. It's spoilers. I can't say it right now, but
Oh,
intention and choosing, okay, let me say this. Choosing a writer has much more thought, and it has much more of the dragon's agency, so much more of their personality and their quirks, and possibly their previous bonds influences, if you believe that connection
yeah.
flows both ways, and you believe there's little bits of Visenya and Vagar, and even like Aemon and Praxis kind of deal.
Yeah.
There you go.
Also, Disputed Lands Amanda just gifted 5 memberships to the channel to sit-ins for this. Joey, Alicia Copper, Vigilante, and Devoted to Mariah. Thank you very much for that, Amanda. That is very, very kind of you. If you guys don't know what memberships are, it's the same as Patreon. You get access to a bunch of the behind the scenes stuff. This stream I may put behind the membership wall eventually. It's supposed to be stuff like extra stuff. So what's there now is Dying of the Light, Meat House Man,
Meat House
Night
Man.
Flyers, and there'll be other stuff as we go along. It's also you get cool stuff like you guys see. They now get like cool little badges and stuff like that. But anyway, thank you so much, Amanda. If you guys are looking for that stuff, gifting memberships is a great way to help out your fellow fans if you feel like it, and also helping me out too. Um, yeah, so let's go on to Game of Thrones Dragon Riders. I don't want it himself, Jon Snow and Rhaegal. I think you can do no higher than D.
Yeah, like we don't. How many times did they ride? We
A,
were shown.
two, 3 times, and then Rhaegal bites it, and doesn't even seem to be that impactful. Like he gets Rhaegal to breathe fire and attack stuff, which is cool, but that's kind of it.
I'm upset. I want more.
Yeah,
This
that
is
would have been
disappointing.
cool. Um, Nowhere near the connection between somebody else that's about to come up. It's so new. They do so little. They didn't really develop it. So it's almost like an incomplete almost, where it's like he got a dragon
Yeah,
and like it was there and gone again.
it's incomplete. It's one of those things. On our Discord server, Sanrixian Discord server for patrons and Twitch subs, plug. We were discussing what if we got it backwards and Rhaegal is going to be the one to die and Viserion will be the one to bond Jon because in the books he's more friendly.
Mm,
And what are those implications
that's interesting.
if Euron gets Rhaegal and that tinfoil? Put your hat on, flip it and reverse it
That's
with
something to
me,
think
if you
about.
will.
Uh, I also want to point out new channel members. You get special emotes. So I just put laughing Gandalf in the chat. It's also a how strong a Targaryen and a
Ooh.
party Gandalf thing as well. Because obviously my imagery is based on Gandalf. So you guys get special perks for that too. Yeah,
The lady, the lady of the laughing tree says Jon Snow is renting his dragon.
not
LOL.
not unfair. That was of Airbnb, Air D&D.
You drop it off like one of those scooters in Los Angeles.
Yeah, yep. That's kind of what happened. In their books, it may be very different, but Jon Snow in the show, basically nothing. Danny and Drogon,
Oh,
gonna go ahead and throw that one in S. That's an easy S.
yep.
Um,
Easy S.
we've talked about it's come up several times during this stream. All the ways that Danny and Drogon. It wasn't always that way. At the end of A Dance with Dragons, her and Drogon are in fights. They don't like each other. Drogon's not listening. He tells his mom to go screw, almost kills her, almost breathes fire at her, doesn't listen to her on the Great Grass Sea. But as Game of Thrones went on, and actually this isn't in the books because George hasn't gotten this far. Game of Thrones turned them into basically soulmates on the level of Lena and Vagar and Meleys and Rhaenys and Daemon and Caraxes. By the end of the show, and as I said during their death scene, it's clear that Drogon is feeling everything Danny does and back and forth, and Danny gets pinpoint control out of him.
I'm really glad that you referenced that meme because,
Yeah.
like, my experience of the end of Game of Thrones was very strange, and I was in Korea for part of it, so I had to experience it like alone at 4:30 in the morning when you guys were all sleeping, and like it was wild, and like I was like, yeah, this is exactly how I feel about that scene. Like what were we thinking here? Which one of these two? And poor Drogon, man. But I also like their soul bond, friendship necklace besties forever shit. Like I hope we get more of that, because canonically in universe, like where we stand right now with the books, aren't we at, we haven't crossed over to Westeros yet. Like we're getting
No.
ready to leave for Westeros. Not even there
She
yet.
is not even to Vase Dothrock.
Yeah. Okay.
She has just
Yeah, we're still
encountered.
in Marine.
No, oh no, she's in the Great Grass Sea with Drogon, and they came upon the Khal something. One of the calls just showed up with a horde. That's where she is. She's not even back to
She's
Marine.
she's not even back to Marine. She's not even to the, okay. I know exactly. Yeah.
So
It's
they
so
have a long way to
interesting.
go.
Like you think about the things that we don't actually have confirmed. Like Jojen Paste is a theory. Jon Snow is still like dead
Yeah,
in the snow. Like Sandor isn't digging graves on the Quiet Isle. Like all these things that the show implanted into our heads, man.
yeah. It's So there's a long way to go for Danny in the books. This is show Danny. Obviously, I picked a picture of show Danny. That was the point. Yeah, her and Drogon, absolute S tier. No way around it. Um, she checks every box, and the way that she dies and the way Drogon reacts just reinforces it. It's the same as Vhagar and Lena. It's like Lena and Vhagar is probably the better version of that scene, but I think they're the same, more or less, in what they're communicating about how the dragons feel.
Right. They have the same like dragon relationships that we get to
Yeah.
visually see. Okay, so who do we have
So,
next on your cute
unusual
little list?
dragon rider. We have the Night
On your
King.
cute little list here.
So, people don't think about him this way because obviously the dragon he was riding was a zombie, but he did for sure ride a dragon. So, what do you think? It seems like he had pretty good control over Viserion. I'm not sure about souls, considering it seems like Viserion's an empty vessel at that point.
I hate you for this question. I'm upset. I hated everything about this. It hurt my feelings. Like it was really cool, like visually to see. I liked the cinematography, but I'm gonna say B or C because he did not
Ooh.
seem to stumble with his warg magic. What do you think? What's your heart tell you with your horrible question?
I think C's fine. He got Viserion to
C,
do
of
everything
course.
he wanted, but it wasn't because of a dragon bond. It was because it was an undead dragon. So I guess it kind of depends on what the relationship is with the between the whites and the others. Like on some point, it seems like they're automatons, that they're basically like flesh robots in a sense. They're just like picking up and moving them like puppets. But if there's some sort of soul interaction between them, like maybe there's something there, but more like,
Okay, if we're going that way, which feels more right, which feels like we're getting deep into Joe Magician lore,
yeah,
I'm gonna say D.
no, I'm gonna go
If we're
C.
going deep into the wizard hole, we're going D. But if you want to say there's a little bit of spirit left for Viserion, it's C.
Well, it's the
Yeah.
idea that how the Weirwoods are just a collection of souls, and that's what got shoved into the Night King. And it seems like I don't know, is he using them like energy or do they like exist within him? I don't really know. It's a little confusing. Amanda talked about this in her video. She speculated about how it works.
If
Uh
he's a thrall, it's D because when you're a thrall, it's all glory
yeah,
to
that's
our
true. Down to
vampire
D.
master.
But there is this thing. Do you remember the whites attacking in the Night's Watch? They knew where to go.
Yeah.
So they
So you're
seemingly
arguing conscious thought.
well, maybe their memories exist somewhere within the others after they bring them back. Much like the
It
ugly
might
little
be like,
girl.
so this might be like in the magic umbrella thing
Yeah.
where we're not going to get a
In
direct
some ways it's
answer
S,
from
but in
George.
other ways it's D.
Oh my god. Put it in D, wizard.
I did. It's already in D. Okay, so
Thank
we're gonna
you.
go ahead and do the spoiler section here. This is for characters
Yay.
that have not been introduced in any
I'm
way in the
free.
show, and if you know nothing about Fire and Blood and you don't want to know anything about characters coming up, there's a reason the pictures I put in are all representative and not pictures of them or the actors or anything. So this is where you should jump off. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a little song. This is the spoiler time. This is the spoiler time.
Spoiler time. Spoiler time. This is spoiler time.
Um, Also, yes, I'm added. The Whites went to Mormont's quarters, a thing the others couldn't know. So how do they know who to
Yeah.
attack? Other if they don't, if there's not some sort of memory being taken by the others when they do it, it doesn't make sense. The only way it makes sense is if somehow their memories are being used by the others. Whether or not their souls are still there is a different question. But anyway, it's entirely possible that that the Night King absorbed Viserion's memories when he brought him back to life. Okay, spoiler time. So first one here we have we've talked about him in passing. Adam Velaryon, the son of Laenor Velaryon, allegedly, who takes over Seasmoke. Now, here's the question. Oh, there's an ad going on at the moment. Hang on a second. Okay, ad's over. So Adam Velaryon, the suggestion. This is going to be, we're just going to do full spoilers because I said it was spoilers. The suggestion is that he's Laenor's son, but most people think he's Corlys's son, especially because the age differences between the characters. But Adam takes Seasmoke while Laenor is still alive. Does that not suggest a strong connection?
I don't honestly. I'm really
You're so
upset
mad.
because Seasmoke is a good family dragon, okay? Seasmoke is a good Valyrian boy who loves Valyrian people, and I can't be mad at him. And, like, I imagine his little tail curls like a seahorse, and it just...
In the arms of an angel.
The Seasmoke, fly away. Oh my god, I'm so mad. I would say, I'm gonna say C is the best I can do. You figure it out. It's your choice. I pass.
It's going
C
to
and
be
pass.
an extraordinarily new bond, like instant. We're going to be seeing them very, very quickly. So it's hard.
Okay. So I could forgive Seasmoke if like he was in mourning. Like, here, this is my new idea.
Oh, okay.
He's
We got
mourning,
head cannon coming.
He's upset. And then like he's included in like the let's get new friends to ride around and play fire games with us. And he shows up on the beach and he's like, oh, okay, you can be my friend. Like, I would forgive Seasmoke for that. Loyal Valyrian family dragon. But I will not forgive... now I'm mad at Laenor, and I don't want to be mad at Laenor, and I hate your game. I'm going to say C or B if you want to be... whatever. What do you think? What's your opinion?
I'm going to go C, just because, like, incredibly, incredibly new. Like, this is going to be the same for a lot of these, the spoiler ones. Knowing what Adam and Seasmoke do is actually kind of impressive, and they seem to bond very, very quickly.
That's why I'm saying maybe Seasmoke is lonely. I can forgive him for being lonely and feeling betrayed by Laenor and bonding with Adam. I'm starting to see a new light on this.
Sad Seasmoke.
All dragons are good dragons.
They are interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
Like all dogs are good dogs.
How can Seasmoke have two connections at the same time? This is what I'm talking about. I don't know how it's going to work.
The Wi-Fi disconnects from one location and you travel cross country.
What happens if Laenor shows back up?
Upsetting.
If he rows back into shore, who does Seasmoke go to? This is like Judge Judy. They put the dog down in front of the two people. Where does he go?
Why are you doing this to me? I'm so upset. I love Seasmoke so much. I don't know. I really don't know.
Which rider does he go to, Mallory?
He better go to Laenor. Like, he better go to Laenor, but Laenor abandoned him. So then I feel like he's gonna go to Adam, and now you've made me a fucking Adam apologist, and I'm fucking upset about it. Like, what do I do in this situation? You put me against the bars, man. Give him a B. Fine. You win. You win this one. I talked you down to the Night King in D. You can have Adam in a B.
I'm gonna put him right next to Laenor for
fun.
fun.
I'm mad about Adam Velaryon.
They're gonna be right next to each other.
Quote Valyrian.
Loyalty.
Don't tell me loyalty. Get out of this room. Sorry, there's a Pat interruption.
Ah, a Pat Doherty. Lovely Pat.
Oh, he said your name right.
Of course. Good Irishman.
A good Irishman.
Uh,
Who's next?
well,
Yeah,
I just want you to look and see that I put them right next to each other.
thank you. It's
In
very
many ways, it
beautiful.
is the dragon thruple. They share sea smoke. Not the thruple you wanted, though. I know your desires.
You do. I
Uh,
see what you're doing.
next up,
I know your games, Wizard.
we have a wine cask representing Ulf the White, or Ulf the Sot, as he is known. Ulf is a shithead. Ulf is a drunk. He just happens, for some reason, to claim one of the best dragons, Silverwing. Nobody knows how he does it. Silverwing, of course, Queen Alisane's dragon that has been chilling on Dragonstone for several decades at this point. And nobody really understands it, because Ulf sucks and Alisane rules. It kind of makes you think worse of Silverwing. Like, what did you see in Ulf? Because
Don't you shit talk Silverwing, because Silverwing flies away when the battle happens and says, I am not participating in this. Do not shit talk our queen's dragon, okay? Like, she's
I am shit
innocent,
talking
she's
her
pure.
judgment. She said she saw
I
Ulf the
don't,
White
she
and
might have
said,
been lonely.
"You know
Maybe
what?
she's
Yeah,
lonely.
Ulf the White, Ulf the
I
Sot."
cannot defend her choice. Sometimes we get lonely, okay? Like, sometimes we get, like, desperate for connection.
Are
And
you
she was
saying
like,
this is
I'm
like
getting
a
left
bad
out.
hookup for Silverwing? Like, this is like a
You know how I feel about Alisane and her relations. Maybe like Silverwing was hoping for love again. She was hoping for a connection, and she was like, I can fix him. We've all been there. We've all
nobody. You
tried to
can't
fix
fix
him."
Ulf the Sot. He sucks.
It's true. You really can't. I don't know what she was thinking. I'm trying for her, but I can't win.
Silverwing, you make so many bad decisions in this war. Uh, as Amanda said in the chat, make him a D because he's a dick. I agree, especially because Silverwing just like abandons him, which she should have
Yeah,
anyway.
she
Like
fucks
no
off, and
connection
we
there.
support that.
Ulf is like, I should become king at some point, and Silverwing's like,
Okay,
hey, about
hang
that.
on, hang on. When did Vermithor? Because if Vermithor bonded first, I could argue that Silverwing was like, I gotta go be with my
I
boy
don't think they say,
and see
but
what's
we might
going
find
on.
out.
I think it's very close. I think it's like around the same period, right? Because we get like what, a paragraph for this, maybe 2 paragraphs if I'm imagining, hopefully. But like if Vermithor bonded first, she was like, I gotta check on my old man and make sure he not fucking around on me. He still got it, you know.
That
I love
is
Vermithor.
some
Keep
very
going.
poor judgment from Silverwing. How could you?
She was just no. She's perfect. She's never done anything wrong.
Yeah, she's just
Who's
feeling
next?
lonely. First guy that shows up, she's like, fine, whatever. Because
I'm saying she
it
had to
doesn't
go
even.
after
I don't
Vermithor.
remember if
That's my
anyone
new
else even
argument.
tries to claim her. I think it's just Ulf. Or does she kill somebody? She
There
might
you
burn
go.
somebody. I think she burns somebody that tries. Or is that Vermithor? Somebody gets burnt pretty bad. A few people do.
I don't think it's Silverwing. I really don't think it's Silverwing. My heart says no. I'm
She
not
said
to
what
that point in my
it said
review
she's
yet.
one of the friendly she is the friendliest dragon. So it'd be weird if she did, but
She's very friendly.
maybe that's it. She's just too nice.
Everybody gets hurt though. We
Oh,
don't see Targaryens getting hurt by dragons before this
we don't know
sowing
if
of the dragon
Targaryens get
seeds.
hurt during this.
Quote unquote. We don't have it recorded.
Although Alan gets kind of fucked up. Alan of Hull.
Yeah. But this is
So
during this process. Like
yeah, that's the
I'm
first
saying
one.
before this process, like we don't see it. We don't see it in Fire Blood. So we don't have it recorded in the books, like this is the first instance of fire hurting fire. So Hugh the Hammer.
Yes, the hammer for Hugh. Also D tier. Like it seems like Vermithor also abandons Hugh at a certain point and is just like fuck you. Like unhappy with this decision. Unclear why he likes Hugh the Hammer, what he sees in the guy. Same as Silverwing, bad decision making. Their being with Hugh leads to Vermithor dying very stupidly, which is un-Vermithor like.
But again, like I feel like like I'm getting like my okay. So my defend all dragons things has like
Okay.
a downfall, right?
Yes.
Egg has been yelling at me for about 3 weeks, telling me like Vermithor is a fucking traitor. Like he switched sides,
He doesn't
and
have
then
a side. He's a
Silverwing's
dragon.
not a traitor because Silverwing flies away. But then it's like, what does that make Vagar? What does that make? Not really Dreamfire, but like it's like there are other examples. So it's like I get what you're saying, and I still think Sunfire is the shittiest like of all dragons, but Vermithor, man,
It seems like
I
Vermithor
I
is.
almost feel like they're just
Oh, good.
I feel like he's just like going through the motions, really, is what I'm saying. Like, I think what we're being shown with Damon and his little sing song is him wakening up this dude who's in retirement, calling him back, calling his old lady back with him, and then all of a sudden they gotta participate in the battle again. So whoever comes forth who they think is strong enough or worthy enough is who they're gonna claim.
And
I
also,
know that there are incidences of people getting burnt, but
going back to a question we got earlier about like, do the dragons choose the rider? The Targaryens controlled access to them so much that it's hard to tell if it's actually impressive to claim a dragon or not. And certainly, if we're looking at Hugh the Hammer and Ulf the Sot choosing getting the two best unclaimed dragons seemingly out of nowhere, maybe if you have the blood, it's way easier than they think. It's maybe that's why they control it so much. Just like if a dragon seed can pick up a dragon like Vermithor, couldn't anybody? Anybody with even a drop of dragon blood? Like maybe.
it's like you said, one of the points in your video was about how Rhaenyra could have sold like the dragon eggs because Dragonstone had so many dragon eggs,
Hmm.
like for money, but she didn't specifically because we don't sell that power to other people
Right.
because probably it's way easier than we think that it
If you
is.
have the
Like,
blood, which is what it
not to
seems to
belittle
be.
Nettles
Well,
and
she's coming
any
up
regards.
next.
I fucking love Nettles so much, but like she did what like I imagine in a situation where I, who probably would not be born of royal blood, would do, which is feed
Hang on.
dragons sheep.
We're still on Hugh and Ulf. We're
Ugh,
about to get to Nettles, but like, yeah,
I'm upset with both of them. I just am really glad that we get to see Silverwing and Vermithor.
like
I don't. What do you think Alysanne and Jaehaerys would think of what their dragons were doing right now?
Alysanne would be abhorrent. Uh, I'm guessing Jaehaerys would be disappointed that he wasn't using Vermithor to get more power.
Right, like also like the sides that they fall upon, very interesting.
They sort of choose their own side in a way.
Which,
They
yeah.
they try to basically become new dragon lords. Um, but yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Especially I talked about this 2 videos ago about like how the Baratheons were refused dragons despite being Targaryens, and it's like I think Ulf and Hugh are good reasons why, and why there's dragon keepers and why they guard them so jealously. It might be a lot easier than we think.
Because if a dragon keeper who's just a dude, like just make up a guy, dragon keeper, if a dragon keeper can kind of tell a dragon what to do, zoom.
Well, I've got the theory that the dragon keepers are all dragon seeds.
Really? I don't know about all that.
We
I
know
really
very
like
little
the
about
idea
them.
that they're just guys. Because
I
Rhaego
know
Draz
everyone
kept an
likes
apartment.
nobody's. Everybody likes Ray Nobody. Everyone likes the idea that anybody can get dragons, but that's not George. George loves secret
Okay,
princes at every opportunity. He loves
do you
royal
think Rhaego
bloodlines.
Draz, who keeps an apartment like literally attached to the dragon pit, like either on top or attached to or besides, that close to dragons, do you think he's a dragon seed?
Maybe
Make your arguments.
there's
Okay.
a lot of dragon seeds out there.
All right. I hear you. I'll
Supposedly
take it.
Jaehaerys had like 10 or something crazy like that.
According to Hoops.
During one of
I don't
the
remember this part.
one of the claim during the Great Council, like tons of people came forward and said, "I'm Jaehaerys's kid," and the story goes he went like, "Aha! I defeat you with logic and how I couldn't have been your father," and it's like, boy, that's a lot of people claiming to be your kid, Jaehaerys.
But don't you think they're part of that is like people who are like suffering like poor small folk being like, I have blonde enough hair. I'm gonna go get some money.
I expect some. I don't expect a lot. A lot showed up for Harry Harris. And by the way, where did Hugh and Ulf come from? Huh.
God
Is
damn it,
there a
Jimmy.
reason that Vermithor chose Hugh? Is it
I
that
don't like your train of thought. I do not
dragon
support
seeds
you.
come
I want
from
them.
Targaryen men having sex with women outside of wedlock? There is one Targaryen on Dragonstone a lot around the time frame for Hugh and Ulf. Because they're older, they're not young. Why you really don't like this?
I just, you always have an opinion. Look, okay, like, I'm not an apologist for a lot of things, but I really like Queen Alysanne. And I like to
So,
think Jaehaerys wasn't a complete piece of shit. And then the more insistence that I get and the more it's put in front of my face that Jaehaerys is a complete piece of shit. I don't know. This is just, you're visually right now reacting and seeing me being like, yeah, I can't argue any further. Like, I really love Vermithor is the problem just because he's a big bronze dragon. And that makes me want to like Jaehaerys. And Jaehaerys, not a good dude, not great, obviously problematic. And I'm just like, can I still like Vermithor? I'm asking you specifically if I can have
you
permission
can
to
like
still
whoever
like
you want.
Vermithor. Thank you.
Anyway,
He's a pretty bronze dragon with a pretty beard.
so now we're done with this section of bad mouthing Jaehaerys, a normal section of my streams. Let's go on to the last dragon rider who may or may not be in this season, Nettles.
Please.
Nettles and Sheepstealer. For those, again, this is a spoiler section, the uninitiated, Nettles is a supposedly nobody who, out of nowhere, claimed Sheepstealer, the wild dragon, the only wild dragon that gets claimed, and she did it supposedly by giving Sheepstealer so many good treats, aka sheep, that they bonded and Sheepstealer let her jump on his back. And it is completely unlike any other claimings. All the other ones supposedly just sort of walked up very gingerly and tried to jump on their back, and a lot of them look like Targaryens. They have the silver hair and stuff like that. Uh, Nettles is a conundrum put by George to challenge everything we know about dragon riding and genetics and all of it. Because if you think that Nettles did it by basically getting Sheepstealer to like her, then anybody can ride a dragon. But on the other side of it, George Royal Blood Martin could very easily make it so that she's also a dragon seed. So it's tough. It's tough to say. But we're talking about her bond to Sheepstealer. So what do you say about that?
I'm gonna give her. We're full spoilers now,
Full
right?
spoilers.
Okay, so like at the end of all of this, right? Nettles and Sheepstealer fly away and maybe or maybe not become like a witch in the mountain casting fire spells.
Yep.
And like that's the dream. Like that is full power. So I'm gonna say A. Based on that, that's now that you've unlocked all of the things that we can think about for
Yep.
our hierarchy. Like I really love her. I love Nettles. I love Sheepstealer. Like I love that she made friends with a dragon by feeding it treats. Like I'm like everybody can do it now. Like George leveled the playing field. And I think like making it her having Targaryen blood kind of makes it less special. But even if she like got her grandma got kissed on the cheek by a Targaryen lady, like going to court, I'd be fine with that. Like we could do something funny or something silly like that. Like make it extra magical. I'm good with B also because we don't have a shit ton of proof, but like as years go on, the bond gets better. Which is kind of proven by our older Targaryens like Daemon and Rhaenyra. I hate that I'm using older like that right now, but you know what I mean. Um, but Nettles is just such a cool character. I want to see her so bad. If not this season, please, I want to hold out for her in season 3. Like, please don't cut her.
So it sounds like A or B is kind of what you're going
What's
at
my
here.
choice? What's your choice?
I think part of the problem is that there's no real we don't know what happens to her. Like, she could have gotten shot down pretty quickly. She could have gone to the mountain clans. There's even suggestions that she went to Essos and that the dragon skeleton they find in Vase Toloro is possibly Sheep Stealer. Timeline would be right, more or less. What she does with Sheep Stealer is way better than the other dragon seeds, or the new riders as they were. Ulf and Hugh go out like punks, barely have control over dragons. It seems like Nettles has a pretty good control over Sheep Stealer, and the story we get sort of implies that it's more than just a blood bond, that there's real affection between them. But
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's more affection than, like, we can say some dragons that were not necessarily cradle eggs, but, like, she definitely put more time in than we saw Luke and Arax. Like, no shade on Luke, but specifically what we've been shown and what we've been told. She was out there with the sheep the same way Jace was out there
yeah,
with the goat,
yep.
giving little treats and snacks. And I'm not shit talking Luke. Please do not take it that way.
She's shit
Please do
talking
not
Luke,
be
you
mad,
guys.
chat.
She's shit talking Luke.
I'm gonna bite your nose. But no, I think Nettles is just like, I would give her. She put the effort in. She deserved a beautiful, powerful dragon. And like, people are like, "Oh, Sheep Stealer is brown. Sheep Stealer can't be that powerful and beautiful." Please, House of the Dragon, grant me one wish this season. Let me use all my Sandry power right now. I would like Sheep Stealer to be more pretty than Sunfire, just to piss everybody off. Thank you.
Also, dragon color doesn't mean shit. George has said so. When he got asked why did he pick the colors, he said so they would be different from each other. Do not,
So
do
also
not.
George doesn't, he doesn't care about like things like that. He doesn't,
No,
like,
he
he
doesn't.
forgets what the Lannisters' eyes colors are. Like, that is not what matters to George. Um Canonically, in our universe, in the fandom universe, Aziz from History of Westeros asked George to his face twice, what color Vagar? What color big green,
He's
maybe
like,
bronze dragon? And he said one time, I don't know. If you read closer, you will find it. And then the second time said pale. And then it took me asking Sam Hogg on Twitter,
yeah.
who did one of the calendars, what color did George tell you Vagar and Arax are? Because we've been trying to figure it out for fucking years. And Sam came back with bronze with highlights of electric blue and green eyes. So that's all we know. So I've seen people on Twitter posit that the Vagar that we have in House of the Dragon is like aged copper or aged bronze, where it like kind of like takes on like a penny, where it gets like kind of like green over time. And I'm like, that's fine. Also, Vagar's wings are bronze, and every interpretation is different and cool.
Long story
But
short, color don't mean shit.
long story short, color don't mean shit. But earlier you had talked about, did I mention Dragon Riders of Pern to you already? And like their psychic link? Yes, I did.
Yes.
Psychic dragon magic. In that universe and in other universes, color does mean shit. So then
Doesn't to
also
George.
like,
That's not this world.
it
So
makes it like so interesting to take my dragon prejudices into this.
he
I
basically
have
goes the other way.
to force
He like
myself.
picks a random color and then he writes something thematic about it or makes it sound cool. It doesn't go the other way around. Like Tessarian is not blue because he thinks there's something interesting about how the color blue means something about the dragon and therefore Daron and how it works in the no 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 no. He made Tessarian blue because he didn't have a blue dragon yet, and then he went like the blue queen. Hey, same for Caraxes. Caraxes, why is Caraxes red? Didn't have a red dragon yet. Then he came up with a cool name afterwards. That's as far as it goes. Doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But I guess to get back to Nettles, I think
If
that
you're telling me, I'm sorry, my final
okay,
comment
go.
on George thinking about dragons is, if you're telling me a man who named the main dragon in his series Drogon
Yeah,
without being like, I mean, like, I get it. I deeply get it. I get it. Drogon,
Drogo.
Drogo plus Targaryen dragon naming infrastructure. I see it. I see the vision, but George, it's dragon with a different letter for George. Like, come on. Like, everybody looks at that and they're like, this is a serious book you read? And I'm like, yeah, I yell about it on the internet all the time.
Yep. So it doesn't mean that much. So for for Nettles and Sheep Stealer,
I'm sorry.
I think it's clear based on what happens to her during the dance, as far as we know, and how she's like the only one to escape, and that they are in. We are told directly a story about how much they like each other and how close they got because of a love of snacks, which that's a deep bond. A love of good snacks can mean everything. I think, I think you can't go lower than an A. I mean, yeah, lower than an A. I could make an well, you can make an argument for B just because the bond is so new, but it's also implied that Nettles was doing it for a while.
If we're, like I said, if we're going through all the way, like through the end of the lore that we have, I would argue A is very solid. I could see a case for S. I could see a case for B. But if we're being fair and balanced, A.
Yeah, makes it quite a long time. And I mean, it has a cute story about it. Like, there's no cute story about how Aegon got Sunfire. There's no cute story about Helena and Dreamfire.
I'd really like one. If I could have a second wish
Oh,
for
no
Hot
shit.
D.
You want more dragon cute stories? Weird. Weird. Unbelievable.
Weird.
Um,
Why'd you have me here? I don't know.
um, so I think
I'm proud of our chart.
Viserys next to the
We
Night
did good.
King.
We did good.
The
It's
Aemon
perfect.
one
Look,
and Aegon ones piss people off, but I think that's because they just like the characters.
I'm if you don't know anything like about the books or you are a new reader of the books and Aemon and Aegon brought you to this series, welcome. I'm like so happy to have you. Like tell me why they're your favorite. Give me your three-part thesis, give me your PowerPoint presentation. Like we're happy to have you.
I also
Like
like adding on
I
to
the
that.
Greens are a special new breed that I've been introduced to. And I'm happy to have them.
Like specifically Sunfire, people are like, "Whoa, well, they have a great connection." It's like, when? When did they have a great connection? When they separate for a long time, and then
I
Sunfire
could see it.
drags himself to Dragonstone just for funsies.
I could see it. Okay, I could see it argued that like when he did the thing and he ate our girl, like I could see that that was like a good mental connection. I could see that argument being made. I could hear that out. That's also way farther in the story than we are, and also that feels like a rage that had been quelling and building for a long time, that like even if you're not a good dog owner and you have a dog that like
Yep, but he gets
animals
commanded to
pick
do
up
it. He's like,
on
"Eat her," and
basic.
then he does.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like,
Like I was
what are we
trying.
talking
I
about?
was trying. I was trying to make an argument. Okay, I
Also,
hear you.
Aegon spends most of the dance like incapacitated, so there's like nothing going on. And also, the one battle he gets into, he gets clowned on 1-on-2. And Aemond and Vhagar, this is why they're in D tier. We didn't say this during the non-spoiler section. Aemond gets clowned on every time he goes into battle. He has the biggest, strongest dragon, and he almost loses. Well, he loses the second one and almost loses the first one. In Fire and Blood, Meleys gets her jaws around Vhagar's throat. Or Sunfire, one of
Are
the
you talking
two.
about Caraxes? You're talking about Caraxes when he rips Vhagar's throat out at the God's Eye
No,
with
no, no,
Daemon?
no. The at Rook's Rest, Vhagar and Sunfire, like
Oh wow,
Meleys
no,
almost
both
wins
of
that one solo just because of Rhaenys fighting against the two of
yeah.
them. Like Aemon gets clowned on anytime he's not fighting Lucerys and Arax, a dragon the size of Vhagar's paw.
Yeah. Also, like, there's an argument to be made for the speed of the smaller ones and a group like effort of it, like dragon tactician combat stuff. Like, I don't know how much of that actually factors into this nonsense, but Vhagar does get clowned on a lot, and it's like, this is what happens when you listen to Aemond. Almost
Yeah,
like I don't know. I'm upset for her. I'm still upset for her.
it
But
is.
did
Yeah.
you see? Did you see the House of the Dragon premiere photos with Aemon's actor
Yeah.
like on the runway? And people are like, "Oh, the spirit of Aemon is like possessing him with his little outfit." I was like, "No, that's the spirit of Visenya right there. Look at that.
It's closer.
Look at that velvet coat and those shoes. Oh my god, that's Visenya. That's what I wanted to happen more." But
Aegon should have died. Sunfire should have died. Their connection is so strong it kept them alive. No. Like Sunfire should not have died. It had a wing ripped off, but like it's halfway ripped off. But at least the dragon. That doesn't normally kill them. And Aegon, like, basically did die. He's like, he had his armor melted into his skin and spent the rest of his life on Milk of the Poppy, barely conscious. Like,
Both of them took severe damage and never recovered. I will give
yeah,
you that. Like Sunfire was never the same, absolutely. Like that losing a wing, obviously that damages a dragon for life, but like I don't know, they also like had the privilege of people to care for them at that point. Like
sort of. Well, Sunfire
Sunfire's
did it on
doing
its own.
better.
Well, yeah, they gave Sunfire a lot of sheep to try and get his strength back.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would say impressive is when Meleys and Rhaenys took on two dragons at the same time and almost beat both of them. Like, that's impressive.
Oh, Melees, I love you so much. I didn't love the animation for when Melees flew through the doors of the dragon pit, like a little pew, but everything else about Melees I loved.
And Rhaenys, they are the best. It will be sad when Rhaenys goes out. Um,
I don't want to talk about it. Are you ready for blood and cheems? Are
I
you
am ready.
ready for I am not. I don't want to do it. I'm not ready.
Too bad.
Oh,
Lady of the Laughing Tree, what's your opinion on the theory that Daemon survives the battle above the God's Eye? They definitely don't find a body, and they find Aemond. Um, and it's said that Aemon wore the chain, I think, which is why he ended up, and Daemon didn't. That's the story, right? Daemon doesn't wear a chain, and Aemon does, or something like that, which is why Daemon jumps out and kills him. Is that the story, or is it the other way around?
along those lines.
Um,
Maybe the other way around.
so the theory, there's several theories about what happens to Daemon. One of them is basically he goes full Batman at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, and he goes to with Nettles to Essos, and they live out a happy life together. Waiting for Alfred to show up so he can raise his cappuccino and nod at him. That's
I want that.
that one's kind of crazy because Caraxes 100% dies. It would be basically the two of them flying away on Sheep Stealer, which is a thing nobody sees. Other ones are that Damon goes on to be like a hermit, and Grey Era came up with a cool theory that he gets dragged into the Isle of Faces and becomes a Green Seer. Gets plugged in like
Ooh, I like
Bloodraven
all of those. I don't know.
because he spends so
I
much
need.
time at Harrenhal, like so
He
much.
does. He does spend a lot of time in Harrenhal. He does have almost a mythic level dragon bond. I could believe it. I would want more in source arguments of Damon being like
Mystical.
Blood Raven-y or mystical-y, which we could get in Fire and Blood too, maybe.
Um,
Um, maybe.
I mean,
We could get
they've
in the
shown a
show a
bunch of
little bit.
dream sequences for Damon in the trailers already at Harrenhal, so
Oh yeah, well you know the stuff is gonna happen.
yeah, weird things are going to happen. He stays at Harrenhal. He becomes like the Lord of Harrenhal for quite a long time. As to the theories, the most intriguing one I think is Gray's. I think that one's pretty cool because there certainly would be other. I mean, Isle of Faces, there probably are green seers down there too, in caves and stuff like that because they never see them on the surface. Children of the forest live in caves, etc., etc. And it would be interesting for that to happen to Damon, although he does seem pretty put off that he doesn't have any dragon dreams and no hint that he's a skin changer. But like you said, certainly his connection to Caraxes is so strong that maybe it's hinting that way. But he also doesn't have any First Men blood in him, which Bloodraven does.
Right.
Damon is 1,000% Valyrian. I'm pretty sure.
But there's also something about old Valeria that we don't really understand, like the blood magic. What was mentioned in the first season,
Yeah,
like the blood dome or whatever,
the Blood
the
Temple or whatever it
something.
was.
Yeah, the blood temple. Like, there's some kind of mythical thing to old Valeria that we can't really categorize yet because we haven't been shown enough information to fully make a decision on it. But like the origins of the dragon bond, like what was going on with like it's like any disputed lands video. Like go watch disputed lands
Oh no, she
videos
left too.
if you're interested in what I'm saying. But go watch her videos because she has really good theories to the origins of dragons and what they were doing. but it's all like up in the air as far as we're concerned, and kind of like into fan fiction, weeds territory. But I love it all, and I'm interested in hearing about it. But like, we can't make a definitive stance on it. Somebody early in the chat had asked how we would rank Cannibal. Um, he's not bonded to
He bonds to
anybody.
nobody.
Uh,
Campbell's his own dragon.
but also I really like Cannibal. I think he's very interesting. Yeah, it sucks that he eats other dragons, but Sunfire also, quote, eats other dragons. So there's that. And Cannibal is shaggy dog colors, which is kind of like green cere coated colors. And do you want to mention Corliss?
I think I'm gonna save that one for a video
Okay,
in the future.
we'll save that one then.
I'm looking up the Targaryen family tree real fast. Why am I doing
Yeah,
that?
it's
Because
he kills notably Targaryen dragons. It's not noted of him killing any wild dragons, and there's something to like the dragons that are born, quote, in Westeros, and the dragons that come from, quote, Targaryens come from other sources, because we have certain sources like in history. What is it? Urax of the Mirror Shield.
yeah,
That dude, the Mirror Shield dude,
yeah,
Cywin, something like along those lines. He comes against Urax, the dragon that just is there before Targaryens
Serwyn.
ever.
Serwyn of the
Thank
Mirror
you.
Shield
Ruin of the Mirror
against
Shield.
Urax, yeah. So I
Mm-hmm.
went back and checked the family tree real fast. The only way Daemon's not 1,000% Valyrian is if one of the Valyrian wives that married into House Targaryen had other bloodlines in them. But otherwise, pure Targaryen or Valyrian going back all the way to Aenar. So unlike Bloodraven, no blood of the first men chilling in him. Which would be kind of like sort of a criticism of that idea, but I mean, like, seems cool. Oh, hang on. Um, yeah. So I guess if I had to handicap them, most likely Damon's just dead at the end because
Yeah.
what happened was
I don't.
I don't even know how he would survive that, like logically. But in terms of if I had to handicap the ones that have been presented already of most likely, um, I don't know. Him and Nettles would probably be the most likely because nobody knows what happened to her. At least there's an open door there. We have no idea if he has any connection to the Green Men and the Children of the Forest. No idea if they even have caves down there to do it. I mean, you can speculate. I mean, it would make sense based on other examples, but we don't know. And the idea that he has like amnesia and wandering around Westeros. Maybe Fireblood Volume 2. Maybe there's like an ancient Targaryen looking guy who doesn't know who he is and he's wandering around the Riverlands, but we don't have anything like that. So I guess Nettles and him flying off together would be most likely. But out of
That's what I want.
out of him being
That's what I
alive
want.
possibilities, but I would say like 80% he's dead.
I don't want him to be dead. Like, I want something magic and wonderful to happen to Damon. I don't even like Damon that much, but like, I don't know. Uh, I don't know. That's one that will live in the mystery for me. I'm fine with that. I like a vague end. I like the legends that spread afterwards.
Yeah, it's like Nettles. Like he's introducing possibilities, which is the point of Fire and Blood. It's not this is one of my bugbears with how people treat the show. Fire and Blood is not intended as a exact telling of what happens. It's closer to choose your own adventure, which is what he basically said to Aziz and Ashea in their interview. So you're invited literally by the author to choose which one you think is the coolest, not which one is the realest. So like sure, if that's what you want to happen to Damon, then probably. Yeah, sure, why not? There's no real George is not giving you an answer, so it's kind of up to the fans what you feel like
Right.
believing. Um, and that seriously bugs me when people are like, "That's not this what that character is like in the book." I'm like, "What book? You mean the one where they took 20 pages and turned it into a season? There's
Hmm.
barely anything there." Like even like I didn't criticize. I said like they changed Jace in the sense that we get so little from Jace that like any characterization is different.
It's It's a good reminder, like, we've been without content, like real book content besides Fire and Blood and extended things, since what, 2011? Like, we have been without a Song of Ice and Fire book
Yeah.
since Dance, which was 2011. So it's been so long that we have all of these theories, and we've had established theories that have existed for more than 10 years. We have theories upon theories, and sometimes we get lost in the weeds and we forget what is real, what is headcanon, what is fanon, and what is actually existing in the text. So it's always good sometimes to go back to the source material to actually look at it and to be like, no, I remember it this way. And then you get caught up in the moment and you're like, no, wait a second. And you go back and you reflect upon the source and you're like, oh, I put a lot of meaning into these two words, or I derived too much meaning from this thing that I saw, speaking of these things. So it's sometimes we get lost in the weeds, and it's good to back up from the page and reflect upon
Yeah, even
what we actually have.
even the dance in A Song of Ice and Fire is remembered differently. I did a Twitter thread about this a while back, tracking the differences between how people remember Rhaenyra. Like how Stannis thinks she's
Yeah.
a traitor. And then you get to Dorne and they're like, actually, I'm pretty sure Rhaenyra was right. And there's like different examples of characters who are learned characters all being taught different versions of even how to interact with this story. The one we're seeing on TV. And it's like, it is way open to interpretation. If you have Stannis Baratheon believing that Rhaenyra is a traitor who tried to usurp her brother's throne, like there have been some crazy shit happening in universe, and that's not even talking about us.
It's kind of beautiful though, because it's like our own fandom right now is reflecting what the actual quote histories are. Like it's like, oh, like things have gotten so spun out of control in certain ways, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, more in like a everybody has their own vision and their own interpretation. So it's like retelling of that story to people, to people, to people. So we have people who interact with us in spaces that have only seen season one of
Yeah.
Game of Thrones and season one of House of the Dragon, and like then we have people like us that have been existing in this space for 10 years and etc. And it's like it's poetic almost, and it makes me think more and more about like the mushroom perspective and the Gildan perspective, and like Septon Barth, and like who to
Mm-hmm.
trust. If you had to name two characters in all of A Song of Ice and Fire, stories that came out of their mouth, like word of mouth, who would you say are the most reliable? Because
Barth
I
and
have
Nan.
my yeah, exactly, exactly. Those are the two. Absolutely.
There's also I got a comment on my video I put out the other day where somebody told me that I got it all wrong because in the books Aemond is bloodthirsty and trying to kill Luke. Okay, in Fire and Blood, nobody was there to see it. They only
We
think
don't know. Yeah.
the characters that are relating it were telling stories from fishermen and from guardsmen who said they saw the two dragons flying off into the clouds, and then they found Arax's body and did not find Luke's. So nobody
I
know.
have the quote
Yeah.
actually.
Oh, you have it right here. Go ahead.
Call it, yeah, call it boldness, call it madness, call it fortune, or the will of the gods, or the caprice of dragons. Who knows the mind of such a beast? We do know this. Vagar roared, lurched to her feet, shook violently, then snapped her chains and flew. Oh, sorry. That's about Vagar and Aemond bonding. Wrong line. Wrong line, absolutely. That was I was re-listening to stuff earlier
Oh,
and I
okay.
snapped some quotes for things. But uh no we don't have information in
There's
that
no
section
first-hand
whatsoever.
account.
It's like nobody was there.
It was in the
It was
clouds. There
like
was a
Aemond
storm,
left. There was a storm. Aemond left fast after Luke left, and then like nobody hears anything until Aemond shows back up, and nobody hears from Luke.
and then Arax
So
washes up, and they're like, "Oh, well, he killed him." And Guilty
yeah,
Undertaker says in the chat that Aemon told people he did it, but again, just because Aemon says like he's clearly somebody that wants to be feared. You have like no idea if that's really what happened. Just because Aemon reported it to somebody who reported it to somebody and then ended up in Fire and Blood as truth. Like the way it's written, George is telling you maybe this is false. We like he put it off screen specifically so we wouldn't know.
right. And that quote I just read, while not applicable to this exact situation, is about how Aemon bonded Vhagar, and it's again, we don't 100% know because nobody else was there. So Aemon is a sneaky little boy
Yeah,
doing sneaky little things,
and
and I can't wait to see Alice Rivers. Please, God, I am so excited.
yeah, that'll be pretty cool. And
That'd be really cool.
and that goes for a lot of other things. Like Rhaenyra is doing a lot of stuff that people are like, oh, that's not in Fire and Blood. It's like the only stuff we have on Rhaenyra from the Dance of the Dragons is pretty much whatever Mushroom says. So
Yeah, Mushroom, absolutely. Where's Mushroom? Give me Mushroom. Um,
at least
it's honestly the thing I want more than any dragon in this story is like a little tiny
he was
wink
there.
at Mushroom.
He was in the band.
Shut up. No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
There was a dwarf in the band. That was him.
Totally. I want him in a barrel peeking out. That's what I will accept. Like a little eye peeking out of a barrel, like 2 seconds cut to something else, like a little jump cut, flash cut, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Like that's what I would like for my mushroom.
I will.
Then I will know. It can be the same actor, and I'll be like, Joe Magician was right. I will eat crow. I will not actually eat a crow. I will eat whatever you want, a hat.
That doesn't sound pleasant for either of us. Um, what was I gonna say? Like, if we're talking about Dunk and Egg, and when it gets put on screen, they change things. Like, I will have a lot more sympathy because it's a direct narrative, and there's scenes and dialogue, and it's not presented as uncertain. It's not presented as a choose your own adventure version of history like Fire and Blood is. Like, I'm just so tired. I am already so tired of people telling me facts from Fire and Blood. Like, I went back to read it the other day. It is season 2 is 30 pages, and those 30 pages are dry as toast. There's not a lot of dialogue there. There's not a lot of first person POVs. There's not even a lot of scenes. It is a series of actions that not even the characters saying it believe on. If you're telling me from that you can extract everything about a character's personality, I'm sorry. There's no way.
Right. It's one of those things where it's like, also history is written by the victors, and also like this is a man recording something down on a page, and we have numerous, if not countless, real world examples in our own universe to reference for this. So it's like, if you think about, like, I'm just specifically thinking about like the ancient Egyptian culture and their practice of writing things down that were good and not writing anything bad down that happened. Like, think, filter that through like, what if this dude, ancient Egypt Bob here, was writing Fire and Blood? It would be this very interesting version, wouldn't it? And it's like, every maester has their own spin. What do we call a maester who aces all their classes? What do we call a maester who gets C's? We don't really know.
And
Is
George
that
made it this
mean?
way. It's
Am
like,
I being rude?
you're not
Yeah.
mean, and it's
It
written this way on purpose. It's like,
yeah, it's written to give you the mystery. And what did we love from Game of Thrones? We loved the human heart and conflict, right? We love seeing the characters struggle and maybe change and maybe grow and become better, or at least different versions of themselves. And this is what we're being given in House of the Dragon. We're being given the gray area. Wink.
the gray area herself. Yeah, so that's my Fire and Blood rant. Like, I know it's going to annoy me when I'm doing my streams and my videos. It annoyed me last year. It's going to annoy. It's already annoying me now. It's just like, I wish I wish more people would go see that clip from George when he's talking to Aziz and Ashea. It completely changes how I'm like, it's obvious to begin with from reading it, but when he's so direct about it, it's like, just it's fine. Just let them do whatever they want. Like, they're what Connell and his writing team are doing is literally what's intended by that text. They are making a story
George
out of it.
has. We all have our feelings about the dagger being quote Lightbringer, and we have all have our feelings about that dagger and the fire and everything that they've been doing with that dagger. But George R. R. Martin has that dagger above his like little entrance
He
to his
loves that
office
dagger.
in his freaking house. He loves that dagger. Let's be happy for some mysteries and still think about them and have 20 more years of content, you guys, forever. Joe Magician, 100 years forever. Let's
Wow,
go.
100 years.
No.
That would be crazy. So, yeah, I think that we went on a little bit of a rant there. We meant to go for an hour. It's been 2.5, so we're probably gonna wrap it up. Just going through
Oh,
the
I'm
tier
sorry.
list again. It's okay. We
My
got off on a
mouth.
tangent. Damon, Rhaenys, Lena, Daenerys S tier, uh, Rhaenyra and Nettles in A tier, Bela, Helena, Jace B tier, Laenor and Adam tied in C tier, with Aegon and Daron, and then in D tier we have Jon Snow, Vhagar, Hugh the Hammer, Ulf the White, Ulf the Sot, Lucerys, Joffrey, Rhaena, Aegon the Younger, King Viserys, and the Night King. But to be fair, most of the D's are incomplete. That like they barely had time with their dragons, or they have just gotten them, and there's not really a lot to infer from there. Or they just suck in the case of Ulf and Hugh. And honestly, I'm gonna draw the ire of Aemon fans. Aemon and Vhagar do not do well together. They
I'm really
they
upset
only
that
do well
Aegon
when
and
they're beating
Laenor.
up on people who cannot fight back. What's that?
I don't like that Laenor and Aegon are on the same list. I'm mad, but I stand by what we argued for hours. I'm sorry for my dragon mouth and how many opinions I made you listen to. Thank you for being here with me and doing this, and thank you, chat, for going on this journey with
Yeah.
us, this dragon journey.
How did Helena get to B tier?
Now I feel like we don't. She doesn't deserve to be in B tier. Now looking at it, I'm like,
that's the nature of a tier list. You have to
mm.
put people on there early, and then you look backwards and you want to move things around, and we're just gonna leave it there. The explanation, very briefly, if you don't end up going back to watch it, is Helena has changed so much, and they put so much effort into her magic side, and Dreamfire is an inherently magical dragon herself, that we're kind of inferring, and that she was old already, and that Helena got her so young that basically we're inferring there's a strong connection there, just because, especially because of like Helena being such a powerful dragon dreamer. Like, it's probably going to be more there. I would say that's the most speculative pick. We're looking for Helena to get more in this season and the next one, but the possibility is
Yeah.
there. Nettles is also speculative.
There's a lot of speculative ones. Like most of our D list is speculative
Like, yeah,
at this
who
point. We're
knows
gonna
with
see.
Joffrey?
Who knows with a lot of these down here. We're gonna see. We're gonna see if Darren shows up. I really want him to.
They said
Oh
he's. I don't know. They mentioned him, but who knows? We'll see. I mean, they showed the Hightower army marching. That's when he shows up.
yeah.
But I don't. I
Da
mean,
da 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 da. It's a Darren dragon with his dragon Tessarion. Here he comes. It's sorry.
wow.
Uh,
That was the thing that just
I
happened.
fire me.
All
Fire
right,
me.
I gotta go.
Absolutely.
I gotta go work on a video. Um, and Mallory has to go feel bad about sea smoke.
I'm really upset.
All right, so I will talk to you guys later. Look for a video coming out Monday probably, but maybe Tuesday. I'm hoping Monday. I'm gonna spend tonight and tomorrow trying to finish it. Um, Talking about House of the Dragon episode 1, which I have already seen, so that's why I'm making a video about it. And we'll be doing a
Ooh.
stream probably after the episode. I'm like 50-50 on it. Like, I hate going up against Alt Shift X because he gets like 40,000 viewers, but I like doing it right after the show. I don't want to wait till the next day.
We'll be live right before the show on Twitch, so you should do it. Just do your thing, because we'll all come see you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alt Shift X. I also love you, but I gotta support my boy.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. You guys will see it when I put up a thing either on social media, an announcement on my YouTube channel, and like when the stream is created, when it is. But yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. I hope you enjoyed our dragon tier list and the video itself, which you should definitely go watch. Make sure you slam that like button, subscribe if you've never been here before. I also wanted to say thank you very much to Amanda Crowfood's daughter for the channel membership she gave out. That is also now an option, along with Patreon and my Threadless shop and all the other good things. I have to figure out how to get members access to the patron Slack, which may become a patron Discord at some point. But anyway, we'll figure that all out later. I have editing to do and listen to myself talk over and over and over again, which does not drive me crazy.